Oh, hey bitch. Oh, excuse you. Baloney wash. I'm annoyed. I'm just here to give my opinion and carry in. Oh, it's Chris Avalon Unfiltered, bitch. Hey y'all, welcome and happy Saturday. It's your boy Chris Avalon. Welcome to a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered, the show we basically talk about all things going on in celebrity news, pop culture, hot topics, all the mess, including sometimes we even dive into some politics. So if that's a show for you, definitely stick around because we have a lot of tea to spill today, including we have to talk about James Gunn is going in on the Batman 2 fans because y'all out here trying to push for Matt Reeves to get this damn script going so we can get ourselves the Batman 2. Plus, we have talk about Damson Idris is hinting that he might be up for playing the new Black Panther. So we're going to talk about that. Nick Cannon, chill. I mean, I think we all kind of had these thoughts in our brain, but glad it was confirmed. So apparently, yeah, with all he got a dozen kids, cheaper by the dozen, but I guess not for him because he got the coins. But he forgot some of his kids out of all them 12. So I was like, yeah, it's pretty obvious. Like, you have all them kids, you ain't gonna remember them all. So we're gonna talk about that. Keke Palmer is basically suggesting that podcast partners had something to do with that Jonathan Majors interview never seeing the light of day. Teresa Giudice is out here in her little bubble mode. She abruptly ended the interview after they asked her questions about her taxes, because you already know the tea about her not paying her taxes. Sara Haines is issuing a real correction about some comments that she made about the treatment of women and girls in Iran. That was on that big heated episode that we talked about the other day on The View. And I want to retract something that I even said in regards to that as well, because now I got more of the information. I'll even give my overall newfound thoughts on that whole situation. Plus, Anthony Ramos is calling out Madonna because once upon a time, not that long ago, she she went to go see Hamilton, and he was like, she was being all rude or whatever that was there. So we're going to talk about that. Plus, we got to talk about Timbaland and this whole AI music thing. Apparently, he got caught out here being messy with it, and he was called out by a producer, and he's issuing an apology. So we're going to talk about that. Plus, of course, we got to talk about the man of the hour. I mean, I don't mean to say it in that way, but Austin Wolf and that whole situation. So yesterday, I told you he was going to plead guilty on Friday. Friday happened. It came and went. And I got all the latest on that situation. And even if any of the adult performers have come out and spoken out about the verdict since it's dropped. So we're going to talk about that. JoJo Siwa out here continuously pulling ourselves in the HUD situation, and we don't want to be a part of, because now she's saying that she blaming us for the reason why she came out as a lesbian. So it wasn't, apparently we all put a gun on her head and told her to come out as a lesbian because she said she was forced. So we got to talk about that. And we got some great news about HIV meds, where basically the FDA has approved a breakthrough drug that reduces the risk of contracting HIV by 96%. So we almost there, y'all. Elliot Page is producing a documentary about one of the Drag Race girls and their trans journey. And we got some great news surrounding Jussie Smollett that we can get into. So yeah, those are the topics that we have today. And I would say that, well, I guess if there's any breaking news, y'all can let me know. But yeah, I'm trying to run a tight show today. Like literally, I got up this morning because last night I went out. Well, I had to work. I went to go see 28 Years Later, which we'll get more into that on Monday, but I have to say I was disappointed with the film. That's just my overall feeling about it. I was disappointed. As somebody this was like one of my highly anticipated movies of the year. I feel like they really revolutionized and pioneered zombie films today. We had the George Romero stuff, and then we had when Danny Boyle came out with 28 Years Later, I felt like they kind of revolutionized it. And we see like The Walking Dead and so many others that have kind of taken from that world and incorporated it in The Last of Us and all that. They've incorporated a lot of those ideas into what they do, but they've spruced it up. And then, 20 some odd years later, it's like, well, you pioneered this thing. Where do you fit in today's climate in regards to zombies? I see they were trying to like come in and do new stuff. A lot of it didn't work. Some of it worked, some of it didn't. There were plot points that kind of bothered me. The acting was great and everything, but there were just certain things in the film that I just felt like, what the fuck is this? And even that end where, if y'all saw that I posted a picture of the Power Rangers, if you've seen the movie, you know what that's a reference to. It was feeling very like that last act, that final seconds before the movie ended. It felt very Teletubbies, very Power Rangers, that sort of thing. I was like, what is going on? And so, yeah, I'll dive more into it later on. But yeah, I went to go see it. Then I had to go work a concert yesterday. Fuerza Regida. Not familiar with him, but he's like a Mexican performer. I mean, a musician, whatever. It was a fun show, but it was just a lot of drama going on and stuff. But and then I got home trying to watch Drag Race. Drag Race was watching me because clearly I was exhausted, and then plus it was hot outside. So today I literally got up 7:30. Took me 4 hours to put today's show together, and I've been running around like a chicken with his head cut. Like literally mere seconds before I hit live, I forgot to turn my ring lights and stuff. So I would have been in the dark doing this show. So it's just like my brain is all over the place trying to hurry up and do this thing because right after this, I had to go meet up with some friends later and all that good stuff. So yeah, that is my messy day so far. And thank you all for tuning in. But before we get to the topics, because I would have been like, this would have been a shorter intro if I didn't tell y'all all that stuff. If you have not already, please hit that like button. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And also be sure to smash the notification bell so that way you know when we go live with a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. And y'all already know the deal. I will be putting in timestamps. I'm like, where's the thing? I will be putting timestamps in. Oh, I found it. I was like, I need to brighten up the light. I'll be putting in timestamps after the show is done, so that way, for those of you who are just tuning in and during, after the live stream, you can just come in and go to whatever video you want to see, and then take it from there. So let me hit my banner. Without further ado, I see we got a couple of comments. I'll get to those in a second. But without further ado, let's get into our first topic. Let's talk about James Gunn, who instead of, really I've been here for James Gunn and everything that he's been doing with the DCU so far. I'm really excited for Superman, all this other stuff. But the fans have been growing very impatient because of the whole Matt Reeves thing. I think it's been, I don't remember, how long has it been? I have to remember. I don't remember exactly when the movie, I think it came out in 2022. We're in 2025. I mean, don't give me, and then they haven't even gone filming yet. So you're going to shoot, so the script's supposed to be done this year because he said it's supposed to be turning it in this month. They're supposed to start filming in 2026 to be released in 2027. That's 5-year gap. That to me is pretty much a long time, especially when you pretty much introduce the fans to a new Batman, that you expect them to wait 5 years between films for a sequel. To me, it's like, especially I feel like in this age of social media where everybody wants everything right away and people's attention spans is a mess. To me, that's like a bad idea. But what I don't want people to do is, if you don't have your ducks in a row, don't rush it because you want to please a studio or you want to please fans. Take your time with the whole situation. But I feel like y'all taking too long of a time. And I feel like if Matt Reeves is going to be a part of the whole Warner Brothers world, then yeah, I feel like the people who are giving him the money to make these movies need to light a fire under his ass and tell him to get to getting. So now, more than 3 years later, Matt Reeves as the Batman is still inching towards a sequel. Now, in the same interview, excuse me, that he said Reeves' franchise is still really important, DC Studios co-CEO James Gunn recently admitted he's irritated by all the doubt from fans over the highly anticipated follow-up. So he went on to say, quote, "Listen, we're supposed to get a script in June. I hope that happens. We feel really good about it." And this is what he said. "People should get off Matt's nuts." I'm like, damn. Because it's like, let the guy write the screenplay in the amount of time he needs to write it. That's just the way it is. He doesn't owe you something because you liked his movie. I mean, you liked his movie because of Matt, so let Matt do things the way he does. He says, "I'm irritated by people." This is what he continued on to say. I mean, it's just that thing people don't need to be entitled about. It's going to come out when he feels good about the screenplay. And Matt's not going to give me the screenplay until he feels good about the screenplay. Now, Gunn also made it clear in several interviews that he will never go into production on a movie at DC Studios until the script is finished. The director went so far to say that the number one reason the film industry is dying is because people are making movies without a finished screenplay. It's been a long development, as y'all know, for the Batman 2, which Warner Brothers delayed last year from October 2nd, 2026 to October 1st, 2027. The first movie opened in theaters in March of 2022 and grossed a whopping $772 million at the box office worldwide. Gunn previously defended the delay on social media by writing, "To be fair, a 5-year gap is more is fairly common in sequels. 7 years between Alien and Aliens, 14 years between Incredibles, excuse me, 2 years between the first two Terminators, 13 years between Avatars, 36 years between, well, I don't think anybody really asked for another Avatar, but because it made so much money, we got one. 36 years between Top Gun, same thing with that. It was like, I don't think we all expected a Top Gun to come out with a sequel, but because we're in this whole nostalgia era and somebody had the wherewithal and the idea to come up with a concept and want to do it, and Tom Cruise was game, that's why we got it. And then he also said there was 6 years between Guardians Volume 2 and Volume 3. So if that's the case, then I feel like, yeah, I don't mind waiting, but I feel like maybe because of the way social media and everything is, that people do feel a sense of entitlement, where it's like, okay, with these type of films, I don't want to have to sit and wait 8 to 10 years or 15 years for a sequel. By that time, Battinson will be an old man. I mean, he's already, I think he just turned 40. If I'm not mistaken, he's 39, 40 in on the cusp, or he might have turned 40, right? I don't know when his birthday is. But by the time, and I feel like, or by the time y'all go to production, the movie gets released, he'll be in his 40s. So you don't want to take too, I mean, he's still, you're still relatively young and and energetic, and you can do a lot of the things in your 40s. 40 doesn't mean like you could just roll over and be old. That's not how, how it was back in the day. It's not the 40-year-old of my generation. So, he also went on to say, because I was like, I just want to double check. I was going to read the same thing twice. He also said that he's pulling back a bit from using his social media platforms like Threads to debunk countless incorrect rumors about his projects and those he's developing at DC Studios. He says, I've kind of quit because it just happens so often. There are a couple of people specifically who have pretty large followings who just consistently put out false stories, just one after the other, 95% of the time. Maybe once out of every 20 times, they say something that has some slight or partial basis in reality, and it gets to be old. I'm not sure some of those people that I'm not actually helping them in a certain way by debunking them, because you're giving them you're giving them traffic, which I always do, but I think they like it. So I mostly quit. And I do feel like, you know what, at this point, don't answer the rumors. I understand that James Gunn is trying to be like the face because he is a director and he's got that experience on the artistic side, that he wants to be the face of the DCU, and I get all of that, but you're always going to get these people out here that are going to come up with their discourse. I don't want to specifically call people out. Y'all know who y'all are. Where y'all want to come out with the discourses and all these other things that y'all want to make up, and then people who are just those, and it just feels like it feeds the beast of those Snyder bros, the trolls that are just trying to look for any reason for this new universe to fail. And I don't think that I don't get pleasure in wanting to see something fail. As somebody who likes comic book movies, I would like to see if they can give us a different iteration or a different vision or something creative and fun and from a different perspective based off of Batman or Wonder Woman or Superman, whatever characters you plan on coming out of the DCU. And I also was thinking this. Shout out to Corey Jandro, my other Virgo sibling. He's a very, I don't know if y'all know who Koi is, but he's a very popular YouTuber. He does a lot of he talks a lot about comic books. He does a lot of shows with people such as, well, he has his own channel, but he does a lot of things with other YouTubers, like Real Rejects or Christian Harloff. But anyway, he also, I believe, has a show that's produced for the DCU where they talk about comic book, stuff that's going on within Warner Brothers and the comic book situation. Instead of James Gunn having to be the one to scoop people, why not feed him that information and then he comes out and, does that and brings it a part of his show? I mean, invest in the things that you have that's a part of the DCU and have a specific channel or, YouTube channel, whatever the case is, because I think it was also on HBO Max that it was airing. I don't know if it's still there anymore, but if just let's, for argument's sake, it's a part of a YouTube channel. If you have somebody that is, the channel is sponsored by them and they're like, well, we'll let you do whatever you want. Like, we're not going to come in and try to swoop down and tell y'all what y'all can talk about. But if you have those type of stories and those type of scoops and things that's going on within that world, and you need somebody to pretty much be the one to let y'all know what's going on, instead of the typical, people that always trying to fight to get those scoops out, like a Daniel RPK, or Jeff Snyder, who sidebar, I was kind of pissed off at him. And shout out to Cody Leach for calling him out. And I had to even respond on this because I didn't like the idea that Jeff Snyder was telling people that y'all need y'all brains examined if you like 28 years later. And I'm sitting there like, if you don't like a movie, that's fine. There's movies that I like, I don't, and there's movies that I like that people don't like, and vice versa. But don't shit on people because you didn't like something and they did. But I always feel like he comes from this cynic, pompous, nose up in the air, very prickish type of attitude when it comes to like, I know everything and y'all don't know shit. And to me, when y'all come in with that kind of attitude, that makes me want to knock your teeth into the back of your throat, metaphorically speaking. But it's just like, I hate when people do that. It's like, don't sit and shit on other people because they like something that you don't like. Like, I always try to, I throw my little, shady comments and things in there, but it's like, if you like it, I love it. And that's how I'm gonna leave it. So yeah, but in this other stuff to wrap the story up, I don't like the idea of James Gunn's, well, get off Matt's nuts because y'all feel entitled. And it's just like, well, wait a minute. So y'all spend $200 million on a movie. You need us to come to these movies to support y'all stuff so that when you can continue to make these sequels and you can continue to stay in business because you need the audience to come in with to pay to go to the movies, get the popcorn, all the other stuff to enjoy these films. I'm taking 2 hours or sometimes 2.5, damn near 3 hours of my time because I want to, and I'm a fan, to come sit and not turn my brain off because depending if that's the tone of what it is. And I want to go and transport myself to this world that you've created. And I don't like the idea you say, well, get off his nut. Now, if people are being disrespectful and all this other stuff in regards of, being rude about it, then it's like, okay, I totally get it. Like, drag them. But for somebody like me who loves these type of films, I'm just like, yeah, what's the holdup? What's taking so long? I'm not saying you got to tell us all of Matt Reeves' business, but it's just that the fans are growing impatient. It's like, well, damn, it's like 5 years and we still don't have anything. Like, what's going on with the script? But if you feel like he needs time, it's like he needs time to do it. We have other things coming out. We're exploring other Batmans. I mean, y'all need to get Batman on the screen. Like, what's going on with the Brave and the Bold or whatever your iteration, your DCU Batman, because you're giving us 2 different Batmans, which I heard that there was a complaint. Well, not a complaint, but Dave Goyer did a recent interview with the Happy Sad Confused podcast, and he was told by Christopher Nolan not to involve himself in the Batfleck Batverse because the audience will be confused. And I'm sitting there like, well, how come this new DCU is trying to do 2 different Batmans? Do y'all think people are going to be confused over that? I don't think they will. I mean, if you explain like these are 2 different Batman movies, but I get what you're saying, James, but it does feel like you kind of just, biting the hand of the fans that you need to support the films that you're trying to get that you are green lighting and putting the budget and all other stuff behind with the help, of course, of Warner Brothers and getting these movies on the big screen. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story in regards to what James Gunn had to say? Because he said he irritated by us, but fans for pushing for Matt Reeves to hurry up with his damn script so they can get a Batman movie started. Do y'all agree with his assessment? Whatever your thoughts are on this story, let me know in the comments down below. All right, so now I see we got a lot of comments. When it comes to Madonna, this isn't new. She got banned from Alamo Cinemas. Well, we're going to get to that Madonna story later on. So, yeah. So we just comment on stuff and that on topics I didn't even talk about yet. You said, didn't Matt Reeves have a relative die and just need a year to heal? No, I didn't hear anything about Matt Reeves having a relative dying. I mean, I think you're misconstruing. I think you're confusing him with Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder, I know, had to take time away from doing, I think it was Justice League, and that's when they had brought Joss Whedon in. Because I believe his daughter unalived herself. And so I think he took some time away and then they brought somebody else in to finish the movie. And then they did the Snyder cut and then he came back and did whatever he needed to do. And I'm sitting there like, why not do that? They could have did that with this film. But if Matt Reeves can't get whatever he needed to get together, have somebody step in, but he could still produce. if he can't get the film finished or have his ideas going about and then have somebody come in and help him write the script if he's struggling. So we'll see how, what's the next thing that James Gunn's going to say. Not 10 years is not enough. December 20th, 1996, Scream 11, Scream 11. December 11, 1997, Scream 2. That's not a year. But James is not saying that Marvel had a cinematic universe that had films lined up as chapter to chapter. And that was the thing, too, was like, I think what it was that the difference between James Gunn and Kevin Feige, because here's the thing, I feel like James Gunn had an idea of where he wanted to go with the stuff, but I feel like he was learning on the job instead of getting the on the job training. He was learning as he got the job, and he's been learning on the job. So he had a specific idea of, oh yeah, we're going to do all these films and stuff, and people are kind of looking at it and saying, I don't know if these stories are going to work or whatever the case is. And they came in and started working on the scripts, and we haven't heard a lot of those films or what's going on with certain scripts or whatever. It's kind of like what I was saying, The Authority, Brave and the Bold, what's going on with those. They had what is it, the Sergeant Rock, that was canceled. Y'all were working on that. They couldn't make the script work. So it's just like you're greenlighting things. You had a whole list of movies that you were coming out with, but then you had to put them on the patch because the scripts weren't ready. They weren't working. You had ideas, and I guess people were butting heads and things didn't work. Whereas when you're talking about the MCU, from the first, we'll stick to the first three phases, because after that, that's when the MCU started to fall apart. And then Bob Chapek came in and tried to act like, well, the fans will sit, they'll watch anything. So let's just flood the zone with all these shows on Disney Plus. And then on top of that, we're going to come out with flood the zone with the movies. And then we're going to sit and have y'all do homework and feel like the only way you're going to know what's going on in this film, you had to watch this show, which we never had to deal with before. So we got oversaturated. We became overwhelmed, and the movies flopped. And they realized that don't take our kindness for weakness or take the fans for granted, because we're not going to come in and just watch whatever you give us because you're the MCU. And that's a fact. I'm not going to sit there and watch every damn movie because that's what you think that we're going to watch. That's not how I work, and that's not how a lot of the fans work, and it shows in the box office, particularly when you looked at the last when Captain America Brave New World, Thunderbolts, even though it was a good movie, flopped. It didn't do all that well financially. So I don't know what's going to happen with the new Avengers, how that whole story is going to work out, but I guess they'll maybe figure that out when we get to Doomsday and Secret Wars. I'm hoping that Fantastic Four does fairly well, but I don't even know if it seemed like people are excited to see it. I'll go and check it out. And there's been other movies and stuff in the past. So they had there was a plan put in place. I don't feel like there's a plan that's been set up where like a Kevin Feige, where he had all the things. We're gonna make this movie, we're gonna make this movie, and I guess interlink all of them. Or you're going to do something with a DCU where it's like their own standalone movies, but eventually you'll bring Batman and Wonder Woman and Superman and all these other characters together, and we'll do the Justice League, which is how I hope the approach they take this time, rather than what they did the last time, which was Batman. What was it? It was Man of Steel, and instead of Man of Steel 2, you gave us Batman versus Superman, and then y'all jumped in. Y'all try to jump the gun. It's like, well, wait a minute. You ain't even build these characters up to having their own individual stuff before you brought them together in their own Avengers type movie. Y'all were trying to rush. I feel the rush, addicted to your touch. He said, Elton John said Benson Boone is not too mid to hate. He also added, but that's majority of heterosexual male pop stars. Anybody that What? DSN? What does that mean? Reynolds of Imagine Dragons. Oh, I think you meant Dan. Signs to your record label that says it all. Wait, he's on Dan Reynolds record label? Well, that probably explains the whole queer baiting thing he's been on. Like, he recently did a picture where he was like tooching his butt up. Where it's like, okay, and that's why I put that line, this boy is a bottom. But but I mean, if that's the case, because they Dan from Imagine Dragons has been getting a lot of accolades because he goes on his tours half naked, and then he's always talking about how he loves the gay community and all that other stuff. He's been very much an ally. So yeah, but I do agree is that Benson Boone is kind of boring. I did his new song; it was all right. his music doesn't stand out to me, but it'll be interesting to see how it works when he goes on this arena tour, which I do believe it is coming to my job at Madison Square Garden. I already saw that they started advertising the Kesha concert and all that other stuff. And I find it funny because Kesha's coming next month, and the next day they have an artist called Keshi. I'm like, I thought they made it, there was a misprint, but I'm like, no, it's Kesha, and then the next day it's Keshi. I'm like, who's Keshi? Magical Mermaids in the building said didn't know it was Batman trilogy in 70 years, and they're celebrating the 20th anniversary of Batman Begins. So, yeah, these gay for pay is making the gays look bad. Who's a gay for pay? Because it ain't Austin Wolf. I do believe that Austin Wolf. No, Austin Wolf was a homosexual, and I heard his man. Somebody wrote in the comments on my last Austin Wolf video that I think Austin's husband does content. Excuse me. Coffee and Nutella toast. And it's funny, I'm drinking regular black coffee from Dunkin' Donuts, which I had to run over there real quick and get me something because I didn't eat anything. No, funny enough, cold brew is the only coffee I drink. That's the only thing I like. I don't know what it is, but I'm obsessed with cold brews. But if I do a cold brew, it has to be, I like the foam at the top because then it's like technically I will drink it black, but the foam also it adds to make it like brown coffee. So yeah, I love a cold brew. I don't know what it is, but it's just like I just love the cold brew. Maybe because it's like just regular coffee, don't have all that extra stuff in it. But I haven't had Nutella in a minute. Nutella is good though. I would love a Sharon prequel of the John Wick universe when he was young, original story. I don't know if that would be interesting. Just like I didn't find the Continental series interesting with the young Winston, so I don't know if that would work. I mean, if we could find out like if he was an assassin or if they made it interesting, it was like, oh, he was an assassin and then he just kind of retired. I was like, I'd rather be a concierge. Like I'm tired of taking people's lives and all this other mess. So, what was a cannon jar? Hold on. I need to see what that is. Oh, I think I knew what a cannon jar. Oh, no, yeah, I knew what a cannon jar was. I just had to double check and make sure. Oh, that would be a good thing. Maybe I need to try that. Oh, you talking about the Nutella? Or you talking about the coffee? I love a cannon jar. I believe so. And yeah, so I got everything. I even got Austin's statement, what he said in the courtroom. So my nosy behind. I'm gonna come with everything. All the receipts. People are coming out now. Austin S.A.'d his OF actors. Oh, I have the story about Silver Cody. I will be bringing that up as well. Child, I told you, I got y'all covered in this Austin Wolf story. I got all the tea, including Austin's statement of what he said in the courtroom. And if he still got the body. Yeah, I got all that because, there's been a lot of people in the comments asking, I wonder if he still got his muscular body. You'll find out when I tell you the story, when we get to that part. And you said, yeah. We'll talk about it. Cold brew it, then refrigerate it. Funny thing, that's what I do with my coffee. Like what I do is I buy Bustelo. I make regular coffee in a pot, like make it hot. Then I have a pitcher that I just put with a lot of ice in it, which I don't understand why, because it melts it when the heat hits it. But I just like the idea of me just putting ice in the coffee. So I put it in the pitcher. Then when the coffee is done, black and everything, I pour that coffee in the pitcher. And when it's done, I put it in the refrigerator so it gets cold. And that's how I do my iced coffee instead of me having to go to the store and buy it. But what I need to do is I got to get me one of those iced coffee cups and have that so I can put it in there instead of me having to just mess up the environment with the plastic cup. When did we get into a conversation about yeah, I like Bustelo. I got introduced to Bustelo about 12 years ago because one of my manager at the time, she's Puerto Rican. They love the Bustelo. So that's how and when I was and I worked in Spanish Harlem. So that was like, what's that? And then when I tried it, I have been addicted ever since. Oh, you saying cannon jars keep it track? Oh, that's good to know. So I need to buy those. Oh, well, maybe you know what? Now you're gonna have me go on Amazon and cannon glass mugs. And I may have to order one. I know we're supposed to be like, oh, actually, I like the Cannon glass mugs the way they look because it's like they have the little top you put on it. And I think from what I'm looking at, it look. I was trying to see at the top. Do they have like a little thing where you could stick a straw? Because sometimes I'll be wondering, is like, do I want to just open the top and drink it like that, or do I want to put a straw in it? That's kind of like the way that would be my approach on it. Like, what I want to drink it like that. But anyway, you say you're lucky to get the Venga Boys for Kesha and sisters. Just keep yourself. Okay, well, we'll be seeing if the boys will be up in there half naked. Get the ball brand. See, now you got me up in here Googling, but thank you for the tips. Oh, I see it. And well, basically, we call them like, they're like mason jars, basically. That's what it is. I love a mason jar. First of all, I'd be thinking like, you know, mason jars are good for like if you want to make iced tea or if you want to have you a Long Island iced tea. Like, I always like the whole mason jar thing because it kind of gives like this old rustic bar type thing, like, you know, like the old Irish pubs or whatever from like back in the day. Like, it kind of gives that whole vibe. Like, I like those, and I could make me like a Moscow or Irish mule in one of them. But anyway, enough of liquor talk, well, and coffee talk. So let's move on with the rest of the show. Let's talk about this story regarding Damson Idris. Damson Idris. Now, those of you probably not familiar with Damson, he was on a show I believe called Snowfall. Then there was one point where allegedly he was dating Lori Harvey, but who wasn't dating her? So, um, there's been rumors floating around that he may be in talks to play the new T'Challa slash Black Panther in Black Panther 3. He recently appeared, I believe, on the Today Show, whatever. He was asked the question. He kind of was like, yes, no. Like, he was like playing off or whatever, like in regards to it. I do think, based off of looking at him, I'm like, I could totally see it. But if they do make it the new Black Panther, I'm here for him being T'Challa #2, as in Chadwick Boseman and Nakia's son. If they kind of made it like, okay, we fast forwarded and it's the future and it's, you know, or a multiverse or whatever, and he's the new Black Panther, I'd be here for that. Because I'm looking at him, I'm like, first of all, he's a good looking guy. I think he definitely has what it takes to play Black Panther. And if you kind of do it in that context, instead of just all of a sudden we wipe the slate clean and make him the new, you know, T'Challa, people are always going to compare him to what Chadwick Boseman did, and you want him to be able to stand on his own and come up with his own thing and do his own thing instead of people coming in on him. Because I already know, like regular people, like I'm gonna speak as a person of color. What people need to realize is that we don't get afforded a lot of opportunities when it comes to being seen and having representation on the screen. So when I hear certain white conglomerates being like, "Well, I didn't like Black Panther 2 because of whatever," you know, you're thinking of it from a script standpoint, but I'm looking at it as, yeah, there were certain things that was kind of like with the movie, but for the most part, I totally understood why it was like they didn't just go in and because Chadwick Boseman died, that we just brought in a whole new Black Panther and act like Chadwick didn't exist. We had to do a thing where he died, we mourned him and that stuff because that's something that we're all about as people of color, or specifically Black people. We have to honor those we lost. We don't want to just dismiss, because white people, y'all could just swap y'all folks out because y'all have the red carpet rolled out for y'all. Y'all have the opportunities given to you at no, you know, in no time of fashion. So, but when it comes to people of color, it's like, no, we had to do that movie where Chadwick Boseman. Now, I didn't agree with Queen Ramonda getting killed. That pissed me off. But I was like, okay, so we doing a double feature, and then y'all made Shuri, who was like 10 pounds soaking wet. We supposed to believe that she was Black. I was like, nah. First of all, she looked like a little boy in that outfit. It wasn't working. I like Letitia James. Letitia James. That's somebody else. I like Letitia. What's her last name? Right? I like her, but and I understand in the comics, Shuri does become Black Panther, but I always say to people that what works in the comics don't necessarily, especially based on who you cast or whatever the case is. Sometimes it, you know, certain situations that work in comics or ideas that are canon in comics doesn't resonate in the comic book cinematic universe. So that's why sometimes you realize when people make certain changes, you have to make it fit within a cinematic standpoint that makes sense versus what is put in a comic book. You can't measure the two on the same level. So if they decide to put Damson Idris in it, I would definitely like that idea. But it's like, yeah, make him, as they hinted, because we saw that T'Challa and Nakia had a son. Let them focus on that rather than it's like, oh, we're going to bring in a replacement. So yeah, as I was saying, while he was visiting today on Wednesday, the 33-year-old, and because he's promoting the movie F1 alongside, well, he's in it with Brad Pitt. The actor was asked to participate in a game in which he answered a series of yes or no questions about what he's got coming up next in his career. And he was asked, there's some I will play the video, but I don't know, it's NBC, they may flag it. So he said, there's some speculation out there in the universe that you could be cast as the next Black Panther. This is what Craig Melvin asked him, who was the co-anchor. Have you had any conversations about that? Yes or no? And then he said, yes, no. And then he was just like trying to cheekily sidestep the question. Now, Melvin didn't let him off the hook, I should say. And he went on to say, by the way, the yes, no means yes. And then Idris was like, could be no. So I do think that there was conversations that was had. I do believe that he's taking meetings, that he may be in the running. I do look at Damson as somebody whose career, after Snowfall is definitely on the rise. I'm looking forward to seeing F1. I'm not a car guy, car racing guy. I had friends who were, big into car racing and stuff. So, but this film particularly, I'm actually excited to check out because the car sequences and stuff, the racing sequences in here, especially if you see the IMAX, it looks really good. So that's the only reason why I would want to check this movie out. It's like, even though I'm not a big car guy, I would check this out for that reason. Just like Fast and the Furious. I mean, I like, even though those movies are dumb as hell and those car racing scenes are awesome. I want to see that movie. I watch those movies for, the car sequences. And I do love a good car chase. So at this point, yeah, you got to recast T'Challa. I would be here for Damson Idris to play this part. There was also rumors that he had reportedly turned down the role of but they said he reportedly turned down the role of Black Panther. I thought it was they said that he said, yes, sir, I turned down 007, a co-lead film with Daniel Day-Lewis and an Eddie Murphy biopic, too. So I think he was making jokes, whatever the case was. Because, look, I think Damson Idris' name was floating around for James Bond, but the one I've been hearing about James Bond and possibly being cast, I heard Aaron Pierre's name. And somebody was like, I didn't even know he's British. I was like, yeah, that's because he does a good American accent. But yeah, Aaron Pierre, was out here hunching Tiana Taylor. And he was in I forgot the name of the movie, but it was on Netflix. But yeah, Aaron, and he's in the new Lantern series. Yeah, he's English. And I was like, if that was the case, I could definitely see him playing that part, but I don't think he'll be playing it. So yeah, that's the latest on this story. Now, the question I ask all of you, what do you think? Do you think that Damson Idris is in talks of playing Black Panther? I'm thinking that, based off of some of the casting and everything, I could definitely see him playing Black Panther. You know what? And if he proves how good of an actor he is, if this Blade thing doesn't work out with Mahershala Ali, I would love to see them kind of go with a Damson Idris to play him as well, because he definitely seemed like he's a pretty good actor. So yeah, I definitely want to hear from y'all. So let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below. Let me close that out and make sure that I got my topics. Okay, you said they also are good for making homemade dill pickles. I love pickles. I don't know. It's just something about, the way, I love a dill pickle. Get your minds out of the gutter. You said the guy that plays Steve on Stranger Things seemingly spoiled the first and last episode of the final season on the YouTube tab of a secret YouTube account he had. Why ain't he dumb? Damson Idris is very lean. Get him on that Marvel superhero serum. A bulk could be nice, but he don't need Hollywood steroids. Oh, definitely they'll get him in the gym. But I'm like, do you want him to get like Michael B. Jordan big? I was like, yeah, he's lean. I wonder if he's tall. Speaking of which, I had coworkers yesterday when I went to work, because it's been 2 weeks since I was at the Garden, because I've been everywhere else. Crazy enough, all that has been going on at the Garden is graduations and only 3 concerts. That's how bad it's been over there. But July is about to be different. It's about to be crazy busy. But what was it? Oh, so coworkers of mine, they were talking about Amber Rell. And they were sitting up here talking about how like I totally forgot. I was like, wait a minute. So yeah, she did used to come to the garden a lot. I totally forgot about that. Sometimes you see so many people you forget. But they were like, yeah, she would hang out in the suite. She was always there for the Ranger games. And every time she would come, she was very pleasant. She was always nice and talked to a lot of my coworkers and all this other stuff. So, because, when you're working in hospitality, I mean, we're dealing with a lot of people. I'm dealing with celebrities. I'm dealing with regular folk. I'm dealing with everybody. I'm dealing with a lot of drama. Security, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff. Because when you're working in guest services, you have to deal with a lot of stuff going on. And it's not me complaining. I'm just saying. But, yeah, so she's come to the garden a lot of times, and everybody had nothing but nice things to say about her. So I just wanted to put that out there. But I'm sure I'll probably bring it up again when we get around to finding out what she passed away from. The whole autopsy report and all that stuff that they're looking into. I was like, hold on. Oh, you said, rest in peace. All right, let's get into this Nick Cannon story. So I don't know why people be surprised that Nick Cannon will be out here forgetting the name of his own damn children. But nevertheless, let's get into it. So the Masked Singer host, who's 44, I think he just recently picked up another gig too. That oh my God, what the hell's his name? The actor, I think it was it. Oh my God, I forgot his name. He's got this really deep voice, and he does like the voice of Batman and stuff. But anyway, he did like the Lego Batman movie. I think it's Will Arnett. Will Arnett had a show that he was hosting. He dropped out. Now Nick Cannon picked up. I tell you, Nick Cannon out here being a Black Ryan Seacrest. He got all these 89,000 jobs. Well, look, I'd rather be Ryan Seacrest than Mario. I don't remember that I'm Mexican Lopez. But anyway, so the Masked Singer host appeared on the Really Good podcast with Bobby Althoff. Who the hell is this? Like, I'm telling you, every time I turn around, somebody got a podcast, and was asked by the influencer in his turban why he has so many kids. Now, Cannon, who shares 12 children with 6 different women, joked that it's because he thinks of himself as a king. Now, before we get to everything else, I do have a clip. So, courtesy of the Tiki Taki. So, we're going to go and play that video. Hold on. And then we'll come back and we'll talk. Please hold.
Why do I have so
many kids?
Why do I have so many kids? I have a king complex.
You have a what?
A king complex. I was like, as Black men, we always be like, what's up, king?
Okay.
I'm a king. I really become a king.
So you need to have, do kings have a lot of kids?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
You know that? That's how they court.
Who was your friend, niece?
That's why.
What are their names?
I didn't know.
You want all 12?
12 names. Go.
Right. This is where I usually get in trouble.
Why? Because you don't know all of them.
I know all of them, but all right, well, here we go. I'll label off for you. See, let's keep me honest. There's Rock, Row, Golden, Powerful, Rise, Onyx, Legendary, Zion, Zillion, Zen, and
2 more. 2 more.
How many?
You're missing 2.
You only did 10.
2.
Why do you have so many kids?
Why do I have so many kids?
Girl.
I have a king.
And see, the problem is you giving them all them stupid ass names. Rock, Roll, Royal, Zion. I'm like, really? Them names. But anyway, that's what you named your kids. That's the name they stuck with. Somebody in the comments, I was cackling at these comments though. They say he can't name all his kids. Well, look, when you have 12 children, I mean, what do you expect? If you have, now here's the gag. What you need to do is interview Elon Musk and ask him the same damn question, because I would sincerely doubt he would even remember all of his kids, let alone how many he's got. So the people in the comment, one person said this one that made me laugh. They said, imagine if he asked their birthday or she asked their birthdays. But then when she goes and says, do kings have a lot of children? I'm like, girl, have you never read a history book? Like, there's a lot of, and see, this is what happens when you get a lot of, air brains who get up on here and just thinking, oh, I'm cute. And I'm white and I'm a girl. I could just put a camera on me and get celebrities to come on, and that's gonna be enough for me to get clicks and likes and money and go viral. And y'all have nothing to offer with y'all stuff. But I was in the look, this video is definitely gonna help you go viral, Miss. I don't know who you are, but I'm sure probably Gen Z or whoever, the alphas, y'all know who the hell she is. Somebody said he could have just said cornucopia and chrysanthemum. What the fuck is that? Chris and Chris and Themum, and we would have believed him. Is that like one of those spells from J.K. Rowling in the Harry Potter books? There's another person said his kids deserve better than a damn who forgets their names. But I'm like, look, there's people. Not that I'm defending him. There's people out here with 3 kids and be forgetting their own children's name. I've had, my mother had 3 children. There's times where I've been called the wrong name. So. But then again, you got 12, so that really should behoove you to be like, okay, let me remember all y'all names. But the question also remains is, you got 12 children, how do you spend time with them? How do you accumulate time or schedule time for you to meet, like hang out with each and offer each and every one of your 12 children quality time? Like, how do you make that work? Somebody said it's crazy to think that he was once married to Mariah Carey. Yeah, Mariah loved him at one point, and they said teachers have anywhere from 15 to 20 plus students, and we can remember their full names, and he can't remember his 12 biological kids. Look, these people are not taking their foot off your neck. They saying that, you know what? There is no excuse, Nick. And to be honest, there really isn't, because if you're going to be out here, laying it low and spreading it wide, then yeah, you definitely need to keep all your children names in order. So I was like, did they actually say what the name of the kids was? Well, they did say that he named Rock, Roll, Golden, Powerful, Rise, Onyx, Legendary, Zion, Zen, and that was when he couldn't think of the other 2. And y'all already know Nick got Moroccan and Monroe, or his Rock and Roll as he calls them, with Mariah, sons Golden, Sagan, and Rise Messiah Cannon with daughter Powerful Queen, not Powerful Queen, chat, with Brittany Bell, twin Zion, Mixolydian? What the hell with y'all with these names? You know what, Chris? Just read the names. Stop judging. But I know I'm judging. Then he got twin Zion and Zillion and daughter Beautiful Zeppelin with Abby De La Rosa, son Legendary Love and Bree TC, and daughter Onyx Ice, not Onyx Ice Cold, Chad. I told you I was going to try to judge, but I can't help it. Now, while speaking, actually, he technically had 13, but Zen passed away after 5 months after he was diagnosed with brain cancer. And then he has a daughter named Halo. So Halle Bailey has a son named Halo. He got a daughter named Halo. Now, while speaking with people recently, he opened up about comments he made about not being ready to rule out the possibility of having more children. Now, after his comments went viral, he shared that he received a call from his grandmother asking if he had another child. He said, my grandmother called me last night, like, another one? I was like, calm down. Well, no, what they trying to tell you is you need to calm down, in the words of Taylor Swift. Now, the Drumline star explained that while he's not against it, he won't be welcoming any little ones anytime soon. He said, I really don't know. I'm being honest. I'm having so much fun in this space right now, and the way my bank account is set up, I'm going to press hold on this 12 for now. But I was just speaking of 3 years ago. There was somebody else that I've heard that was a billionaire that has like a lot of kids that said that he's going to give all, like when he died, he's giving all his money to his children. I forgot how much he said he was giving them, though. This is all the time in my head that I just happen to remember. He also said there was a point in time when I was just like, nah, I'm done. And then I was like, who am I to say that? It seemed like it was such an emphatic thing. I never imagined that I would have 12 kids. So it's one of the things where I love children. I love my life, and I can keep going in the direction that it's going. Why not? And I'm like, look, if you can afford to have all these children, then by all means have them. But I just hope that you can take the time to actually remember all them babies, because you sit down here having all these damn kids and you can't remember their names. I was like trying to look for, see, this is a picture where he was spending Father's Day with his children. I don't know all them names up in here, but the only ones I recognize is the kids he got with Mariah. And you can see they got that hair. Not from Nick. We said there's Monroe and there's Moroccan. I don't know why that boy looked like Prince Michael Jackson. Not somebody saying Shifts is smart. The other 7 will be in the next Father's Day pick. Another person said, not buying it, dude. Right now, there's probably majority of your children who are going to lack a Father's Day with you because you have so many and you're one person today. One of your children is lacking a father today. I don't think this is funny. I get that you think it's funny having multiple kids, multiple baby mamas, but whether you want to realize it or not, you created by your own free will, multiple broken homes, and one of your kids is suffering. Look, you child, you're not in that man's house. You don't know what's going on. But look, all I'm going to do is say this. Let's just wait. Somebody said Mariah kids look just like him. Really? Because I don't see it. I see Mariah and them kids. It's the light skin and the hair that overshadows looking at Nick. I would have to see them, moving, like talking, their whole features or whatever. Like, if you spend enough time with somebody, you look at them, you see how their face moves and certain isms, then you can start seeing differences in both parents. But I'm seeing Mariah carry through them children, or she would call them dim babies. But I don't think that people can judge and say like what these kids are going through until years from now when we have the conversation of Nick Cannon kids on a talk show and they out here spilling his tea and saying what type of father he was and the fact that they felt neglected. So we won't know until them kids come out and tell their side of the story. Similar to like, we didn't know much about Elon Musk's kids until his trans child Vivian came out and started saying stuff about her father. So, and we've seen other kids who do it to their parents. So we won't know until we hear from them. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story in regards of Nick Cannon struggling to name all of his children? Are you surprised that he's not out here being able to name all them babies? So whatever your thoughts are on this story, let me know in the comments down below. Shame naming Mariah's first. Oh no, not Zion. Cheryl, this had better make a song like those 50 states. Oh yeah, that would be funny. That's how you actually come up. It's like maybe you need to kind of like do it in a song where it's like you can sing the names and then you put it in such a rhythm where because that does help with memory. He said more children. I hope not. A king in debt. That's why. Look, that's why he's taking all these, 14 talk show jobs or these TV jobs. He got all these, all these little TV jobs that he got because he need the money. That need to be a reality show. Nick Cannon's family reunion. Hope it'll be, less Love and Hip Hop and less Zeus Network. All right, y'all. So let's see where we going. Okay, so let's get into this Keke Palmer's story. Because Keke is out. Did y'all know she had a new album out called, I think it's called Just Keke? Or something or another? I don't remember. It's in the article that I wrote. But hold on. So let's get into it. So Keke Palmer is hinting that her podcast partners may have been behind the cancellation of her interview with Jonathan Majors. Because if y'all remember back in April, she did record an interview with him and she was supposed to release, was supposed to come out. Then all of a sudden, there was people complaining about it. I think that a lot of the people that she works with on the podcast got spooked and nervous. They pulled it, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, they brought in, was it one of the, was it Young Miami or somebody? It was one of them girls. I don't know if it was Carisha or the other one. But yeah, so the thing never saw the light of day. And so we have a reason, according to the Jasmine brand, shout out to them because, Jasmine does a show with Angela Yee. Angela Yee, y'all know, left the Breakfast Club, got her own podcast and all this other stuff. I think it's called Way Up with Angela Yee. I also forgot, I think Mano's on that show too. But anyway, so she appeared on there. She revealed why, didn't throw nobody under the bus, but we can read between the lines, sis. So I do have that clip, courtesy of the Jasmine brand. We're going to go play the clip and then we'll come back and we'll talk.
It was it's not just me. I have partners, and so it was then suggested or decided that without throwing anybody on the bus that we shouldn't put it out. But I love Megan, and I'm happy for her, and I support her. And when the interview came up, I was he was interviewing. I felt like, hey, well, he did a lot of interviews. Yeah. That's why I was like, well, let's talk. I would
for some reason you in particular were the one that people was upset about.
Yeah.
That's just the way that I think that people are like, not my girl Keke, but it's like, well, she's literally doing,
and it's like, just because you're interviewing somebody doesn't mean you agree with everything. Doesn't mean that. It just means I'm interviewing someone, and this is a conversation, and there could be some questions that the audience wants to know that I'm willing to ask.
Exactly.
But if we don't, hey, if he's not gonna hit you and ain't gonna land, then what's the point?
Yeah.
Right.
You know?
You can't interview everybody who just only has your views and your thing. That's weird.
That's CNN.
Exactly.
I'm kidding. Me, it was you know.
No, girl, you was right on it. She said, no, that's CNN. Which is true, because CNN is trash. So was MSNBC, all these cuck, mainstream conglomerates where they sit and talk all this mess. But anyway, you want to know something? I actually agree with her on this, because I said I'm of two minds of it. And one, I agree, if I was a person that's overhead that's producing this thing, I would have been like, yeah, my knee-jerk reaction would have been, okay, now people, you might receive backlash on something, but here's the thing. When you're a creator, you're always going to receive either people who love what you do and people who hate what you do, people who agree with what you're going to come out with and people who are going to disagree. And that's the beauty of being a podcaster or someone who is a personality, is that I don't want people on here to just 100% agree with everything I say on this show. If you don't agree with some of the stuff I said, you can say it. I mean, I ain't going to cuss you out. But I would have loved to have seen that interview with him, because I was like, maybe because Keke's a Virgo, so we love a good deep dive. We like to get really down to the root of the situation. And me, if I were to have Jonathan Majors come on this show, I would want to talk to him about like what was going through his mind, all this other stuff, like what he did. Have you taken accountability? What were the steps that you have taken to better yourself as a person? And I do agree that we should give people second chances if they're willing to put in the work. That's what we should be all here for, right? We're all human beings. We're all a work in progress. And for people to be like, oh, we're going to pull that. But then again, what I find hilarious is that y'all out here giving Mel Gibson the opportunity to create Passion of the Christ 2, or because he's making something with Jesus, who still y'all waiting to come the fuck back from being risen from the dead after how many centuries? But you giving him money to go make another Passion of the damn Christ, and we all supposed to just be in all is forgiven when he's made racial, homophobic, anti-Semitic comments about people, but Hollywood is all forgiving him and giving him opportunities to direct, to make movies and all this other mess. But Jonathan Majors has a situation with a white woman, and that was intentional. And I'm gonna just keep going. I'm not going to apologize what the hell I said, but he had the situation with Grace, and he is where he is. But I do feel like if he's put in the work, as we've seen that he's put in the work, if he's bettered himself, he's in a relationship with Megan Good. We haven't heard him putting paws on her and doing, beating her like I beat Tina. We ain't heard nothing about that. So in that case, I feel like there should be a sense of, when are we going to actually, put down the gauntlet and forgive people for their sins? Isn't that what y'all asked for in the church? Forgive us for our trespasses and those who trespass against us. Isn't that part of the Bible? Deliver us from temptation, or not from temptation, but deliver us from evil and all that stuff. So, I do feel like, from what I've seen, he's put in the work. But here's the thing: they also dragged. I don't know if this was happening around the time or why they got cold feet, but they dragged Sherry Shepherd at one point. But I think Sherry Shepherd, no neck ass, she a hypocrite, because it's like you sat up there and basically licked the crack of Jonathan's ass while he was up there promoting Magazine Dreams, but had the cheek, the nerve, the unlitigated gall to get up on your platform, because you ain't got the body to wear what Megan wears or the height, dragging her talking about she need to dress appropriate. It's like, bitch, who are you to even tell somebody how they should be dressing? You a role model. No, you want to sit up here with that old Jesus shit and sitting there doing movies with Tyler Perry, because he, you get money and you benefit from Tyler Perry and what he does, especially with all this mess going on. But you condemn her for what she wearing and saying she a role model. Oh, role model to who? Because last time I checked, when I listened to Megan Thee Stallion, she don't be up in here singing Sunny Days. Sunny day, thinking out on our way. She ain't singing those Sesame Street type jingles. So, ma'am, I don't know why y'all sit here and put these people on these pedestals when that's not the gig that they signed up for. Megan over talking about her damn coochie and stuff, among other things. And she's a blurred, which is a black nerd. So she likes her, her anime and all that other stuff. She's very much a respecter of Japanese culture. But anyway, so to say all of that, I do agree that they should have just let the episode air and let the people at home jump to their own conclusion. Now, I'm going to read some of the comments and then we can move on. So one person said, I still don't understand what Jonathan did for him to be canceled this much. He wasn't found guilty, so what's the issue? And this is the part where I say, instead of y'all writing comments on people's walls and hitting send, a simple Google search would suffice. So since you need a reminder, niece, Jonathan Majors was found guilty of misdemeanor assault and harassment in a New York criminal court. Now, those charges stem from an incident with his ex-girlfriend, Grace Jabari, in New York City. He was sentenced to a year of DV counseling and probation, avoiding jail time. So, yes, he was found guilty. And those were the specific charges that he was found guilty of. So, before, like I said, before y'all start writing comments, y'all, Google is free. But just that same amount of energy it took for you to write that little sentence, which you got 9 likes, you could have just saved yourself the headache by looking it up. Another person said she should have aired it. The man has gotten counseling and apologized. People deserve second chances. And I totally agree. Another person said Keke wanted to get in the kitchen but couldn't handle the heat. The Breakfast Club, there you go. They said the Breakfast Club and Sherry interviewed him and they didn't care about online backlash because they've been in the business long enough to know that people on social media be fake outrage for a moment, then move on and be mad about something else. I don't understand why the general public won't give or won't forgive Jonathan when all Chris Brown had to do was cry on stage at the BET Awards and y'all became a fan, especially black women. But I digress. Girl. Now, why Chris Brown got to get hit with the string? Who I heard just recently pleaded, apparently I can't talk today, pleaded not guilty to that recent charge when he got arrested in London. So yeah, another person said, but I agree with that. It's like, you want to know something? Keke, you should have just pushed back and be like, you know what? I will take the heat. Air the video. Air the episode. If people feel how they feel, I will lie on the sword. But I will sit up here and I will defend my right to have this episode air because I truly believe that what we were talking about was some real ish that the general audience needed to hear. But then if you got these overlords, these powers that be, that's going to sit up in here and try to control the narrative and tell you what you say. This is why I always say it's better to go independent. And I feel like in Keke's point, she could go independent. She could just come up there and just, you know what, screw these promoter, whoever that's the middleman that comes in and sponsors. You know what, I'm going to just put these episodes up here. I'm going to pay money out of my own pocket to do this show. And if there's any sponsors that want to come on board that's going to let me freely do what I need to do on my show and interview who I need to interview, then y'all can come along. Or you could just not take money from sponsorships and just sort of do like what do you call it, like a Substack or a thing where you take donations like with me. I get money paid based off the ad revenue and stuff from YouTube, or you can send me money via Cash App, or you can send, you can send me super chats or super stickers on YouTube when I'm doing my live streams. So those are the only ways that I take it. Now there's, and I haven't had a sponsor in the past, Joel's Paradise, who was like they do hair and stuff like shampoo, conditioners, that sort of thing. So it was like a beauty line, and I like their stuff. So that's why I did. At one point, they were a sponsor of the show. I'm looking forward to getting some more sponsors down the road, as long as they fit within what we're doing over here. But for the most part, it's like if I really feel like I'm passionate about an interview that I'm gonna do with someone, and I want to stand on business about it, like I will lie on that sort of be like, yeah, we need to air this episode. I feel like people need to see it. We talked about some real deep stuff on this episode, and I don't care. If people get mad, they get mad. Argue with your mammy. I don't give a fuck. And that's the problem when I think a lot of these celebrity types who are in Hollywood, who run in Hollywood circles, when y'all try to jump in this podcast space. If you're going to be a personality, the one thing you have to have in it is thick skin. You cannot worry about people coming at you in a sort of way and be like, okay, you can suck the shit out my ass. I'm going to still say what I want to say on the show. I'm going to still do what I need to do. And you're going to stay mad in your little corner being bitter. And if you feel like you can do better, then why don't you go set up your own show and talk about whatever the hell you want to talk about on there. But you coming in my comments with the shade, that's not going to, one little monkey ain't going to stop this show. That's what I say. So, Keke, I really wish you would have grew a backbone and you would have stood on business and you would have just put out the episode and let people determine whatever they want to determine, good, bad, or indifferent. So, There's that. So I want to say, I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think of this story in regards to what Keke Palmer had to say? Do you feel like she was just throwing her podcast partners under the bus and didn't want to take full responsibility or some of the responsibility for the fact that, yeah, you sat down and did this interview with Jonathan Majors because you expected it to go one way. And then because these other people came in and was like, I don't think it's a good idea, you immediately went along with it instead of just standing on, 10 toes down and being like, you know what, we need to get this episode out, let people see the episode and let them make up their own mind. Because like I was saying before, Sherry Shepherd did the episode and got some backlash, but there were some people who liked her interview. The Breakfast Club interviews a lot of controversial people all the time, and they're aware of the backlash that they're going to get, and they know how fickle audiences are and how, feeble-minded. In 1 second you hate me, the next second you love me. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. All right. It was like I had to close some of that. Exactly. Let's Zeus. Michaela J has yes, yeah, I agree. I heard it when she first dropped it. And then a friend of mine hit me up yesterday was telling me she got a new song. I like that Green Light song. That's cute. But I feel like Michaela has a long way to go for her music to really. That's the one thing that I always get irritated about gay or queer, I should say, artists, musicians. I be feeling like the type of music that I be liking, it be feeling like the straights when it goes towards the gays, their music is way better than when the LGBTs actually start making the music. Because sometimes I be listening, I'm like, this what you offer? It was like if there was some people that I would work with in regards to like producer, writers and stuff, I was putting out an album, definitely I would hit up Justin Tranter because I like his songwriting style. As a producer, I would definitely work with somebody. I was like, who would I work with? I would probably work with Dan Nigro. I'll probably work with oh my God, what's his name? It was just in my head too. There'll be a couple of, I guess, I would work with Leland. I like some of Leland's stuff. I like a lot of, especially his collaborations with Troye Sivan. Like, I think they're like a perfect match when it comes to the music. I just need Troy's music to be a little more aggressive in my taste. But it just seems weird because you get like this little Twinkie gay trying to make like this grown man pop music. I just like a little, I like my dance and my pop music a little rough around the edges. You said exactly with all the mess Trump does. Exactly. I saw Keke on House Guest with Scott. I don't know last name. I don't know last name. She said her child's name. Oh, Leotis. Oh yeah, that's that's why I'm like, I'm glad she called him Leo. But it's like, who I be thinking of? Wasn't there somebody named Cleotis or Cleophas? There was some movie or TV show where somebody's name was Cleophas or something. We said Leotis was a mix of her and her man's name, Darius and Lauren. I thought that was goofy because Darren was right there. Yeah, I don't like that either. It's kind of like Khalees is a combination of her parents' name, which is her father's name is Kenneth and her mother's name is Ivelisse. And I was like, that's actually kind of cute that works when you mash it up that way. But when you look at, Leotis, I'm like, why would you do that to that boy? Because even if he likes being called Leo for sure, when you work in certain places or you go to school, they call you by your full government. And he might not like the name Forgiveness Before Atonement. Has he even admitted to anything? At this point, Chad, I don't even remember. Because that was so long ago. It's like, yes, that should be a weekly segment. Lord, forgive us. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mark Cuban. Yeah, I heard about that story. I mean, look, that was no shade, but that was smart on his part. The straights have funding. Is Michaela? Probably not. She's probably independent. But look, I've also heard a lot of independent artists who got really good music. Kesha's independent, and no shade, but the only song of hers that I like so far from this new album. I mean, I like that the first single, Joyride. But I also like her new single with Rose Gray and Slater. That's actually a pretty good song. And so I'm like, listen to all the others. I'm like, girl, this sound like old dated ass dance music. I mean, I'll still listen to the album, but that was the song that she did recently that she dropped. Like I said, with Rose Gray and Slater, that was like, okay, now this is more my speed. I kind of want her to go more into that, like a hyper pop type vibe. Because in a way, she was kind of doing that whole hyper pop party girl type thing. Oh yeah, that Boy Crazy video was something. You had old gay men making out. You had this guy basically while she's sitting in the chair, his ass in her face. I'm like, um, yeah, I need Slater to get back on it. To me, I'm more or less into oh my God. We haven't heard from Slater in a while. I mean, I know she's about to go on tour. Hopefully she's working on a new damn album. That's why she's been gone for a while. But I was like, who am I looking for? Because there was an artist, I can't even remember their damn name. But yeah, Slater, I like her stuff. I like Sega Bodega. That's another artist I would work with. But I've been feeling Cobra more. Cobra's more or less up my speed. I like her whole vibe. I like her look. She looks scary. So I just like so she gives me like demonic dominatrix. But anyway, Brooke Candy, I like the aesthetic and the idea of Brooke Candy, but her songs just be it ain't it. Okay, so now let's get into this Teresa story where apparently this donkey was asked about her tax issues, which we have discussed on this show. And she, because I think she's on, in her brain is on always like a 30-second delay. So after the question, she started getting her feelings and decided to abruptly hang up the interview because she didn't like that answer. Because Teresa's always in her little bubble. She always wants to be asked all the good questions. She don't want people to like push back and ask her things that's going on in her personal life. One being that, girl, you ain't been paying. You already went to jail for a whole tax evasion situation, and the word on the curb is now you with Louis, you still doing the same thing you did when you was married to your first husband, Joe Giudice. So the Real Housewives star was 52. Who, along with husband Louis Ruelas, was hit with millions in tax liens earlier this year, hung up after she was asked why she didn't pay her taxes for years in an incendiary moment. The Zoom interview on Chicago's WGN9 News began pleasantly enough as the star was asked if she would be appearing in the Real Housewives of New Jersey reboot, to which I hope she is not, but her response was, I hope I'm the OG, yet so we'll see what happens. And while that's cute and all that, yeah, we know you're the OG needs, but if you're not giving what needs to be given, if you're not really gonna sit and play the game as in entertain us and feel like that we can't ask you no questions about what's currently happening in your personal life, the tax evasion or not paying your taxes and all that other stuff that's going on, we can't ask you that. If we can't kind of see that there's weirdness going on between you and your husband, if you're not going to sit up here and give us the whole reality TV thing, then it's like, no, we don't want it. Figure out something else to do. Y'all need to just wipe the slate clean, reboot the franchise, and do away with Teresa. But then she went on to say, you'll have to ask Bravo for that. Now, however, her smile soon, however, her smile soon faded as host Larry Potash quipped, how is it that a family doesn't pay their taxes for years? Not you coming out the gate with that. I'm like, damn, that did sound kind of harsh. So how is it that a family doesn't pay their taxes for years? Now, Giudice, who served 11 months in prison for mail, wire, and bankruptcy fraud in 2015, asked who he was referring to. Well, who you thought, niece? Obviously, you on camera. And when Potash responded, your family, her reaction was swift. Not Taylor Swift, but swift. A visibly raging Giudice then said, okay, I'm done now, before fumbling to hang up her phone. The baffled host said she didn't like that question. Isn't that part of the show? Well, Teresa is less than smart. I've been saying that for years. Now, in March, it was revealed that reality stars Giudice and Ruelas, who's 49, had over $3 million in New Jersey state tax liens placed on them. Tax liens are a legal claim made on a person's assets if they fail or refuse to pay their taxes fully. If they fail to pay the amount of the judgment, the government would be able to seize their assets. Now, according to the New Jersey court's website, Teresa owes $303,889.20 in unpaid taxes in a judgment that was entered on March 20th. Now, Louis owes several times the amount after a judgment says he owes, goddamn, he owes more than her. He owes $2,569. It says $2,569,842.06. And it was entered on March 6th. Now, the amount is on top of an earlier lien issued on December 12, 2024, which was for $163,523.94 in unpaid taxes. Now, Teresa's former husband, as y'all remember, Joe Giudice, was jailed for 41 months after he pled guilty in 2014 to 41 counts of bank mail wire and bankruptcy fraud. He also admitted to not filing a tax return from 2004 through 2008. And remember, this was around the time when her brother, Juicy Joe, came on the show, and she sat and blamed him for why, you know, that she went to jail. Oh, he snitched and all this other stuff. But then y'all remember, or maybe you don't because you didn't watch it. There's a show that was on HBO Max. Oh my God, I forgot the name of the show, but there was a show that they were doing where it was talking about a whole bunch of stuff. So they were, particularly one of them, it was talking about the housewives. And one of the people who happened to work for the IRS said, oh no, it wasn't Joe Giudice that snitched. I mean, not Joe Giudice, Joe Gorga, her brother. It wasn't Joe Gorga that snitched. It wasn't no kind of whatever, all these little, hanky-panky, whatever stupid delusions that she had, that she came up with to justify or find an excuse because she wanted to be the only celebrity on the Housewives. She didn't want her brother there. She didn't want Melissa and all of them. Although I feel like Bravo picked them to come on because they had conflict at the time and they thought it would make for good TV. But Teresa a little slow, so she ain't get it. So, but it was entertaining for us, unfortunately, at the expense of y'all troubled relationship. But it was, y'all going back and forth for our entertainment. But a person who happened to be a part of the IRS said, no, we was watching the show and y'all was sitting out here spilling all y'all tea, talking about y'all paid things in cash and there was all this other stuff. So that set off red flags and had them investigate what was going on with y'all. So while you was up in here because y'all all came out the pomp and circumstance and bragging about your, how much money you spending and living this lavish fairy tale lifestyle. And I do feel like Joe was all about, because you get a lot of these people when they get these mansions and they work in real estate and construction, all this other stuff, they always want to live beyond their means. They always want to satisfy the woman that they're with. So they go and they commit white collar crimes just because they want to keep the missus happy at home. So she gets to live her little fairy tale, but it's under false pretenses when you out here creating criminal activities. And they was even saying Teresa was in on it too. So she was trying to sit up here and act like she was so innocent. Oh, I don't know. Joe had me signing stuff. I ain't know what I was signing. I just signed it. There was she was in on this mess too. So at some point, you got to be able to take responsibility for your stuff, which is something that she doesn't want to do. And this is where you are. And now history is repeating itself. So you can't blame Joe this time. Because I'm like, shoot, as I always say, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, you a dumbass bitch. I'm not just saying about her. I say that in general. So when you look at it, it's just like, so if this is the same thing you went to jail before, you're doing again. This is not a Joe Giudice situation. I'm sure he was an equal participant, but it's like, oh no, you doing this, like this is the second time you got caught up in it just with a different man. She damn sure know how to pick them. So then, I should point out that she did serve 15 months in federal prison. And you already know this is some white people mess, because how was it that y'all allowed him to go to jail and then she went, she went to jail first, served her time, and then he went right after. I was because if this was anybody else, guarantee you them parents, if they was a white and on a reality show, both parents would have been taken away from them kids and they would have had to serve their time simultaneously. But because it's Teresa and Joe Giudice, who on God's green earth would allow two different parents to serve time in federal prison at different times so one of them could be at home with the kids? Italian is all about big families and all those. I got Italian members of my family. So it's like, Italian families are relatively huge. So you could have found somebody to come in and help out with the kids while the parents went to jail for their white collar crimes. They're all about family. Hence why, when you watch The Housewives, that's kind of always been the foundation that they focused on. Now, speaking on the March 30th episode of Casual Chaos, the former couple's daughter, Gia, revealed she was not panicking, saying, "My mom has been the sole provider for my sisters and I since the minute my father left for prison." saying she went on to stress that Mom Teresa has been working her ass off to make sure that my sisters and I live a stable life and that my family is financially stable since she was freed from prison in December of 2015. I can't stress enough how much my mom has worked. Well, yeah, and nobody's hating on the fact that how hard she works, but it better be under legal pretenses. And y'all are out here doing no criminal stuff. But she also went on to defend her stepfather, Louis, and said he's the most amazing stepfather. He treats my sisters and I like we are his own. He is also working on getting everything resolved as well. So, and y'all already know she's got 4 children: Gia, Gabriella, who's 20, Melania, who's 19, and Audriana, who's 15. So, Teresa, I hope you're not out here being messy. I hope you got it and you're getting your stuff together and you don't end up back in jail do it for the same damn crime you got caught up in before. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story in regards of Teresa ending interview because the reporter went in and asked that, shady but to the point question. I was like, it's a little harsh, but child, sometimes I always say get straight to the point. Don't beat around the bush. And he ain't beat around the bush. He hacked down the bush with a damn machete and got right to it. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. You said Jennifer Love is all over my socials with the promo. Are you talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer? I'm looking forward to seeing that. Not Teresa is a lot like, oh yeah. Child, let's not get into it about Chateau Sheree and She by Sheree or Sheen by Sheree and all that other mess. Because it's like, yeah, you trying to live this lavish lifestyle, but it's like, but at least I'll give Teresa this. At least she working her behind off to keep maintaining that lifestyle. What's Sheree doing? Making them joggers. We still waiting for spring, summer for her to release. The reporter was shady, but I would have done this. Absolutely. I'm tired of people beating around the bush when it comes to question because y'all worried about the person won't come back on your show anymore. Get right to the point. That's what we love Wendy Williams, but she would do her interviews. Okay, so now let's get on to the next topic. Let's talk about The View. So the other day we came on and we talked a bit about there was a whole situation that was going on where Alyssa Farrah Griffin and Whoopi Goldberg got into it because it was something they were talking about what's going on over in Iran and this whole thing. And people sitting out here because one person said this at my job yesterday because we had training for like if there was any kind of a bomb threat, active shooter, like that sort of thing, and what we need to do in that time frame. So I had to do my training for that before I had to work the concert that I worked. But anyway, so one of my coworkers says to me, "Oh, because Iran's going to be attacking us," and I'm sitting there. Oh, I ain't want to go into my politics because y'all already know. Well, I'd have been like, "But wait a minute." So Iran's only trying to threaten to attack us because we're asserting ourselves in a war that Netanyahu wants us to go fight for him because he's the one that's out here starting wars with people. Iran didn't do nothing to any of us, including Israel. Israel been out here poking the bear and starting fights with people, and then when they get the lashing. And when somebody fights them back, because Bibi is a damn warmongering Zionist and an Islamophobe, then all of a sudden you want to assert us against something. He's been trying to get all of our presidents for the past 30 years to go to war for him. Trump's the only idiot willing to do it because, it don't take much for his slow behind to get caught up in some mess. So there was a conversation that was had. Then it was about like the mistreatment of women in Iran. I had gotten caught up in that conversation. And I think what I will say is this. After watching the video, because this is what I should have watched the clips. I was looking for the clips online, couldn't find it. Then I realized the Neighborhood Talk, after I did the episode, the Neighborhood Talk happened to have a clip. So I wound up watching that. And I was like, you know what? I think I went a little too harsh on Whoopi and what she had to say in that comment. So I will say this. I apologize. Y'all know I will come online and I'll admit if I'm wrong. So I feel like, yeah, if we're going to sit and talk about things that's going on in, the way women are treated and everything in Iran versus what's going on in the U.S., there's different situations. Although I will say this, I do feel like women are being treated way worse now, especially when we talk about abortion or, a lot of laws that's being rolled back for women, trans issues and stuff, and women where it's like there was a woman who I think had died. she was kept on life support because she was pregnant, because I think in the state that she lives in, they're against abortion. So they kept her body on life support until they could deliver the child. And then, so you're keeping a dead body alive and the baby could have all kinds of issues because y'all worrying about, we need to bring the life into the world. But once the life is here, what's going to happen to the baby? Who's going to take care of it? So it's like y'all sit up here and try to police women's bodies and tell them what they need to do. But then when the baby comes, then all of a sudden it's like you're on your own. Like, that mentality doesn't make sense to me, because y'all trying to merge church and state into our politics and all of a sudden we should not be mixing religion, whichever religion you believe, into our political stuff. But because evangelicals pump so much money into our politics and the politicians, they're trying to move things in place where they have control and full autonomy over women's bodies. And that should not be something that should be allowed. Women shouldn't be allowed to make whatever decision that they need to make about their body without you telling them what to do. If you don't want to, if you're against abortion, don't freaking have one. If you're against homosexuals, don't fuck with somebody that's gay. Don't get into a same-sex relationship. Mind your business. But there's some people out here who can't mind the business that pays them, that because they're miserable and they don't like something and they don't agree with something, they want all of y'all to just follow along. When you pump your damn kids out, you tell them what to do. You don't tell me what to do. I'm a grown-ass man. And just like with not just me, but anybody else in general, let live and let live. That's how I always see it. So I do have the clip in case y'all didn't see it, because, there was this whole thing about Whoopi where she said Black people in America have it just as bad as people in in Iran. And you want to know something? After watching the video, I will say that, like I said before, I apologize. I take it back. Whoopi was absolutely correct in what she said. I feel like she didn't really articulate it the way it needed to be articulated. And it could have been because it was pushback. And then she spent too much time trying to coddle Alyssa's feelings, because they don't always women make the black girl going after the poor little white girl. But I feel like if you're gonna step in the ring with me, sis, you better have them boxing gloves on and you better be ready to go toe to toe, because I'm not curtailing your feelings. Like, I'll be respectful in the debate, but I'm not gonna sit up in here and handle you with kid gloves because I'm saying something and then you're saying something and you're not agreeing. So, but also I think people was getting mad at Alyssa because they felt like she was kind of being dismissive of what Black people go through in the United States. And so, in case y'all didn't see it, I do have that clip. We're going to, courtesy of the Neighborhood Talk, so shout out to them. We're going to play that clip, and then we're going to come back, and then we'll talk. Please hold.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
Where the Iranian regime is 2 days,
I'm sorry, they used to just keep hanging Black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto.
Listen, I'm sorry.
No, I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you,
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good. Whoever does it, it's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think it's very different to live in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're Black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're Black.
Guys, don't go to Tehran. Do not anyone at the table should go to Tehran.
Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But yeah, I know that. And we all know that. But every day we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood? They are not big deals. And I don't mean to say they're not big deals to you, because that's not what I meant.
And they are not doing well there either. They are not doing well in Iran. They are not educated. They cannot
talking about
they
the
cannot
United States.
I'm talking about here.
Nobody wants to diminish the very real problems we have in this country. That is no one's intent. But I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country and people who deserve rights.
Not everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way. Listen, I'm sorry. When you think about the fact that we got the vote in 1965.
Okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe. They can't go out of their house. Women,
you know what? There's no way I can make you understand.
Let me try something. It's like try to reverse roles with a black person in this country, let's say, because I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Just try to understand from their point of view. From that point of view, this country does not do them well. Does not go for them.
I completely acknowledge that.
And we shouldn't compare atrocities. If you're talking about Iran, of course, is doing worse things. But relatively speaking, it feels bad.
Okay, but I think you know that Iran is significant.
I guess we're going to come back and talk.
I was in college.
Okay, so I feel like y'all got the point. There was going to be a lot of cross-talking, all this stuff, but I feel like if I'm sitting there trying to explain to you, it's like, yeah, while, yes, when nobody's diminishing what's going on in Iran and what people deal with, particularly if you're a woman or if you're someone who is a part of the LGBTQIA plus community, but you also have to realize that not a lot of people, I'll say like even me, I'm someone who pays attention to what goes on outside the United States because I'm heavily into politics and watching a lot of the stuff that goes on. So I'm aware of what's going on in the world, not what legacy media is spoon feeding y'all in regards of this Israel-Iran conflict, which very much is a war that Israel has started and wants to get us involved in the mess because Bibi is a warmongering piece of shit. But they're not going to say that on The View because The View is all about pomp and circumstance and fluff and a lot of just stuff. It's all about the viral moment, whatever the case. So they're not going to have no real deep comment. You already know that when you watch something like The View is entertainment, they're about as deep as a pond over there. And they don't really have anything substantial to offer on the show. But it's entertaining. So if you want to go and you want to get the real tea, you got to be able to go to people like Kyle Kalinske, things of that nature, or Crystal Ball, people who are actually really talking about what's going on in this war for real, and even Sabby Sabs. There's very few people on social media, right, or in the independent media space that are really, and of course myself, when I'm telling y'all a lot of what's going on, when we get into the political stuff, what's really happening and not the stuff that legacy media is feeding you because of who the corporations that are behind and these billionaires that are behind a lot of these news conglomerates and what they want y'all to learn in regards to what's happening in politics. But yeah, we'll get to Sarah's thing in a moment, but I wanted to lay all this down. So it's just like, yeah, Whoopi was absolutely right because it's like, yeah, that what's happening in Iran, there are people in America who don't really pay attention to what's going on worldwide. I have a clear understanding that don't feel like they could just walk down the street or whatever and feel safe and not have to worry about their kid possibly being killed by a person of authority or women whose bodies are being policed. She's like, oh, I can't walk around Iran with my hair and my arms and stuff exposed. That may be true, but in America, we have laws that are put in place. They sneaking them in, and if you go to certain states, yeah, if you're in a blue state, you ain't got to worry about it. If you're in California, if you're in New York, if you're in a place like that, you ain't got to worry about these things. But if you're in like some small little town or red state, there are laws that are put in place where it's like women do not have full autonomy of their bodies. There are places where people have to cross state lines to get an abortion. So you may be able to show your arms and have your titties damn near out and hanging on your knees in America. But when we're talking about having full control and autonomy over a woman's body, those are the things that we have to be put in place. But yeah, when you're on The View, they only get like a certain amount of minutes where they could talk. So they're not going to be able to go and do a full deep dive on that type of conversation because, like I said, they only have a short amount of time and they're not going to get really deep on that show. So in regards to what Sara Haines said, because I don't know if y'all probably heard what she said in the background, because she was basically saying like women in Iran don't really have, a lot of authority, whatever the case is. So she basically posted, and one thing that irritates me is when y'all like to post little apologies and stuff in your stories because that shit expires in 24 hours and nobody, and if and I always say if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there to hear it, doesn't make a sound. So that's why I don't like when y'all do apologies in the stories because it's like, oh, I apologize. You got to catch it when you catch it. If you don't, or, unless somebody from one of the major trades or whatever brings it up, like Entertainment Weekly, shout out to y'all, because I didn't know about the apology until Entertainment Weekly posted it on their page. Then that's when we hear about it. So Haines shared a statement in her Instagram story after a fiery discussion of the conflict between Israel and Iran between the hosts during Hot Topics, the opening segment of the ABC daytime program. She said, yesterday on the show, I spoke about the treatment of girls and women in Iran and misspoke by conflating the theoretic rule of the Ayatollah in Iran and the Taliban's control of Afghanistan. To clarify, girls and women in Afghanistan are currently banned from attending school, while in Iran, women do have access to education and make up a significant portion of university students. And it's funny how she's mentioned that, because I had people in my comments when I first talked about this that said what she's saying. That's like, what is she talking about? Because first of all, women in Iran there's a lot of highly educated Iranian women in that country. And there seems to be a significant amount more women who go to college than men. Now, on Wednesday's show, we already talked about the bulk of the debate was between Whoopi and Alyssa, where Griffith condemned the atrocities in Iran against its people, saying, let's just remember the Iranians literally throw gay people off buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights. And what she need to also realize that there's trans people in the United States are under fire. There was, I forget the trans politician's name. I think she's a senator. She was like, I feel like my life is in danger every day. We hear so many stories. Well, maybe y'all don't hear it because the mainstream media is not talking about it. But when I see people like Here's Why with Kevin and Gay Magazine or whoever, when they go and post stories, some of the Instagram channels that I follow, they post stories about, and then we hear Angelica Ross and oh my God, I forgot her damn name, Laverne Cox. And so, when they get up there and they start talking about a lot of the trans girls that get unalived in America for being who they are, especially when there's trans women of color being under attack. There was, they had a recent gay bar raid, wasn't it, in Pennsylvania that we talked about maybe like 2 months ago? There was some guy that was going around going after gay men or whatever the case was. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Like, we got to be safe on these streets. And with this being Pride Month and the big Pride Parade, I believe next Sunday, like, we got to be on guard heavily in the United States, because it's dangerous out in these streets. And there are people trying to crack down on and taking out lives. We could talk about Matthew Shepard, Brandon Tina, like those stories of queer people who were, remember when he was beaten to death and hung on, what was it, like tied to a fence or whatever. The Brandon Tina story, where she was a trans man. Well, Brandon Tina's a trans man who was assaulted and killed. So there's been many stories about, like I said, trans people of color, queer people whose lives have been taken in this country for being who they are. There have been a lot of lynchings and things of that nature that kind of go underreported. Remember, we heard about the twin boys who were hiking or whatever. They said that they was out hiking or whatever, and they were murdered. And they tried to cover that story up. And the parent was like, that don't make no sense, because they had a ticket, like they had tickets that they were supposed to be coming home. Why would they take their own life? Kind of found out there was some man that was behind the whole situation and took their life and tried to set it up like they tried to kill themselves or whatever. So human rights, basic human rights, is under attack in this country. And I think that someone like Alyssa sits in a place of privilege where she doesn't have to worry about her life being in danger, because you don't have to go to Iran. You don't have to go to Iran. You don't have to go to Afghanistan. You don't have to go to all these other places. So you out here trying to windmill hard for a group of people that you probably wouldn't spit on if you was on fire. I don't feel like that was a conversation you should have. But then also another thing that irritates me about Sara, I like you, sis. You were part of the Virgo brigade, because she is a Virgo. I think she's September 15th to 16th, 14th, one of them days, mid-September, I'll say. The way you be going windmilling hard for Alyssa on the show sometimes, I'm like, girl, would you just like let her fight her own battles? Like, I'm like, you want to eat her pussy or something? Like, literally, I be saying that at the TV sometimes. Us people of color, we watch stuff, and when we get in our bag about things, we yell at the TV. I'm very much Jada Pinkett in Scream 2. Bitch, hang up the phone and star 69 her ass. Damn, yeah, that's me. So, and you had to tell me to shush. That's why I watch TV by myself, because I will talk. So, Sara, sometimes I'll be like, okay, you don't always have to come to Alyssa's defense. Alyssa should be able to get up there and defend herself too. And I feel like Alyssa just be misinformed in a lot of things as well. And just because you worked for Trump during his first term And I think that's the only reason why they hired her, because they felt like she would have some inside information. But girl, you're not living up to the gig. And so, yeah, she said that when I just realized I didn't even finish reading the whole thing that she said. She said, when referencing education, I was speaking specifically about access under authoritarian regimes, not the capabilities or achievements of Iranian women. I want to be clear. I was not implying that women of Iran are uneducated or making any pejorative generalizations. Well, you did, Blanche, you did, because it did come across like you basically said that women, the way it came across was like very much like women in Iran were uneducated. And I think they dragged her ass to the point she's like, damn, now I got to make a statement. Now, she concluded her statement by reiterating the concerns that drove her to make her remarks. She said, I would not want to be a woman living under the current regimes in either Iran or Afghanistan. Despite their differences, both governments impose serious restrictions on women's rights and freedoms. Well, maybe we need to focus on what's happening in America as well, because we have our government that's trying to impose serious restrictions on women's rights and freedoms that we're combatively fighting this government on every day. I mean, it was happening under the Democratic situation too, but now with Project 2025 in full effect, we're starting to see the ramifications of a lot of what Trump's people are trying to put in place, especially going after women. Because I do feel like it should be a woman's right to choose. And why we wasn't going in on Biden about that just as much as everybody's going in on Trump. And I think it's because, and I'm not letting Trump off the hook, but I think it's because his regime is all about, you know, coming in like a wrecking ball than with a scalpel, which is what Democrats are good at. Democrats will come in and they like to cut a little bit, where it's like you don't notice until it's so obvious that they can't hide it, and then they got to get in front of it, and then they gag. But the Republicans like, I don't give a damn. We coming in like a wrecking ball with Miley Cyrus sitting on top of it, and we were just gonna wreck shop. And that's what pisses people off, because then it's like when it's at a point where you can't do nothing but notice, then people want to go in and let have. So I say all this to say, y'all, what do you guys think of this story in regards of, you know, what Sara Haines had to say in that whole clip? Because I was like, yeah, I had to give context. And that's what I'm going to have to start doing when I do these type of articles. I really have to come in with all the context so that way I know what I'm talking about, so I'm not out here looking like a fool. But look, if I make a mistake, I'm willing to own up to it. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. All right, let's see what the people are saying. He said, what that not conservative with 3 Ks really wanted to say is that all brown countries are horrible, but don't pay attention to what we do to our people in the States, which is weird because let me see I think she's of Arabic descent too. Let me check. What is, and you know, look, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. Oh, look, what is her ethnicity? Came up. She is Arab American. That's why I was like, I knew it. Hold on, because I'm gonna see, like, that's why I said I find it funny. They said she reveals heartbreaking struggles of being Arab American, despite being counted as white in U.S. Census. He said culturally we're treated as brown. Well, girl, if that was the case, then how come you running out here in these streets like you're a white woman? Because you know how it is when you're one of those passing types. But I want to know what her full ethnicity, like what is her background? Is she like Palestinian? Is she from, you know, Iran? Is she from Afghanistan? Is she from, you know, what's her background? What's her parents' nationality? We're saying her mother's name and nationality are not specified. Because I believe she's talked about this before. But anyway, so I can't find it. What you do? Scrub the internet clean? Sarah's husband is a pro-Israel. Oh, I should have known. Is a pro-Israel Jew, and she blindly follows his stance. She's even offered excuses when Chef Jose Andres volunteers were unalived by Israel. Oh, please. Isn't that why y'all said that stuff about her? And don't even get me started on Joy Behar. And that's why I love the fact that Sunny Hostin said, and I think it was, I don't know which episode it was, but she was literally like, you know what, I'm calling out Netanyahu on what he's doing. And I'm tired of people saying that whenever we call out Israel and what they're doing over there, they get anti-Semitic. And that is an ongoing theme that really pisses me off. I've even had people in the comments, and I'm sick of y'all when y'all do that. And I had to go in on this motherfucker. But this is y'all go to. Whenever we call out things about Palestine or we talk about things about Biden and his stance on, you know, starting that war with Gaza over there and Trump finishing it because he was taking over $100 million from Miriam Adelson. When we call out y'all on the stuff that y'all do, why is it that y'all go to is, oh, so then you're for Trump or whatever? It's like, no, I'm not for either. And I voted for Biden. But when I find out things that he was doing during his reign, I can't call him out, especially if I voted for you. Like, the one thing you have to realize that I love America. This is the country that I was born in. This is the country I know. So when my country is doing atrocities, I feel like we should call it out. It's like if you have a child, I'm not just going to blindly support and love my child if he's doing wrong. If you're doing wrong, I'm calling you out on it, and we're going to rectify the situation. So I don't just blindly go along with stuff because y'all feel like that shows your patriotism. I don't think that's what that is. When you fight for the freedoms that your country has, you should be able to go in and openly criticize the country that you feel that you see that has so much potential that they should want to strive for and to do better. So I don't understand that mentality of like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna just go along. Because to me, going along with shit is complicity. And I don't agree with that. Chad, you're not the only one. I went in on, I go in on Miss Zionist Gal Gadot too, that baby murderer. And I liked her before I knew who she, what she was all about, and finding out more about the Israel military and what they're all about. Like, I wasn't really paying, like, I feel like in the past maybe 3 years, I've really gone into like really taking the time to understand positive. And I feel like it's because of social media. I feel like it's because of the whole Gaza situation. Like, I feel like the rose-colored glasses, all the things that we've been told and lied to about for the past 20, 30 years, you're starting to see things for what it is. And BB, you was out here lying to the people and coming up with this, like, apparently for the past 3 decades, Iran's been building this nuclear bomb. Where is that? We know that North Korea has one. North Korea been had one. Kim Jong-un will let you know they got a nuclear weapon. But the thing is, y'all know not to fuck with him, because y'all know if y'all mess with him, he's setting his sights on South Korea and he will blow that to smithereens. And America cannot allow that to happen. So that's why y'all don't fuck with him. But where's all those guardrails that was put in place for us to be checking out on the amount of missiles that we've actually funneled over to Israel that they've been throwing over on other countries? And the people that were looking into them, but were kind of giving a lot of pushback. So our hands is not clean in all of this. And I'm glad they're going with a new Wonder Woman, because I do not want to see her horrible acting ass on my TV screen ever again. Although I may, I'll just have to like really bite the bullet if I ever get in the mood to want to watch the Wonder Woman with her in it. I'll tolerate it because I like the movie. And I'll just have to like really just keep my comments to myself watching that movie if it happens to be on. But there are times when I'll be like in the gym sometimes and Wonder Woman will be on and I'll sit and watch it while I'm working out. If I'm riding on a bike or whatever. Anyway, let's move on with the show. Let's get into this story. So Anthony Ramos, who that's my other man. I have a lot of men, a lot of crushes, a lot of husbands. Pedro Pascal, y'all already know how I feel about him. I love me some Anthony Ramos. That boy can sit on my face, and I will feel no ways tied. But yeah, so he recently appeared on an episode of Watch What Happens Live, and he spilled some tea about the one and only Madonna. So now, for those who don't realize, he was in Hamilton. He is right there. Here's Hamilton. He was in Hamilton, and he said he was asked a question, because Sierra was also in there. And now I have something I want to add to the show. This topic about Sierra, because she was asked about Rihanna, because y'all know she and Rihanna was beefing. And she talked about that. So I'm gonna bring that up because I was like, that could just be something I bring up in 2 seconds. I don't have to do a whole segment on it. So while he recently appeared on Thursday's episode of Watch What Happens Live, Andy asked the Broadway star who was the most terrifying celebrity to spot in the audience during your Hamilton days. And he said the most terrifying was Madonna with her iPad in her face. And he's 33, by the way. And he said she was like this the whole time. He continued, imitating Madonna looking down at a tablet. And you already know the tablets is bright. So if I'm in the middle of performing, you're going to notice if somebody's on your phone. I remember I saw something where there was a video of Patti LuPone who saw a woman that was on her phone, I don't even know if she broke character, but during the performance, she grabbed the lady's phone. First of all, you grab my shit, I'm knocking you out. But then again, me as a human being, what I'm not going to do is be disrespectful at a show and be on my phone, be on a tablet in the middle of work, whatever the case is. If I'm at a show, I'm going to give you my undivided attention because I would expect the same kind of courtesy. And I'm sure that Madonna would as well if somebody were to do that at the Celebration tour. Now, if you had people in the audience who was up in there and they the whole time sitting down, which Miss Mamas, you did get dragged, because you told people to stand up and you was criticized when come to find out the person was in a wheelchair. And then I don't know if she felt bad, but you got dragged on social media for that. So when you going after people for things of like they sitting down during your shows or whatever the case is, and they not keeping up with the type of pace and the energy that you have, if you want that same respect at your concerts, you should offer the same respect at a Broadway show, especially if someone like Anthony Ramos and the cast of Hamilton is up there performing. So he also said that he could tell by the Material Girl singer's distracting answers that she was not impressed by his or rest of the cast performance. He said, I was like, damn, shorty. I'm like, if you're not gonna enjoying it that much, you know the door is right there. He recalled thinking, you ain't got to stay here. And in my opinion, he's absolutely right. It's like, yeah, if you're not that impressed with what we got going on, why spend the money? Why take the time to come see my show unless there was somebody that she was with that wanted to see the play and she wanted to go. From what I heard, I think it was Rocco that was there with her and he wanted to see Hamilton. And I guess she didn't feel like, okay, I'm going to let you go see the show by yourself. So I'm going to go with you. And so she went, but she didn't care about the play. So I'm going to focus on work while you go and do what you got to do. But I wouldn't do that because my thing would be like, send them with a nanny, send them with whatever. You go do what you got to do. I'm busy. I'm in the middle. I'm in work mode. If you're in work mode, I need to devote all my time and effort to the job. I'm not going to go to a show and do work there because these people on the stage are actually working to entertain you. Let me entertain you. Shout out to Robbie Williams. So they said, tonight was the first time they said back in April 2015, Playbill, reported that Madonna attended the Broadway show at the Public Theater, but was not invited backstage after it wrapped due to her lack of theater etiquette. Saying, quote, tonight was the first time I asked stage management not to allow a celebrity who was texting all through Act 2 backstage. Hashtag no selfie for you. Lin-Manuel Miranda, who created and starred in Hamilton, wrote in a since deleted tweet at the time per Playbill. So he was mad at Madonna. He was like, don't let that bitch come back here. Hell no. A source told the outlet that the songstress, because the funny part was to be like, oh, I just love the show, whatever. My shady ass, but what part did you like? I'll wait, because I know your ass wasn't paying attention. A source told the outlet that the songstress arrived late to the show and proceeded to take out her phone several times during the first act. She continued, quote, she continued to use her phone, which glowed brightly in the public's intimate Newman Theater throughout the second act. Reps from Madonna did not immediately respond to Page 6 requests for comment. Now, Hamilton debuted off-Broadway in early 2015, with Ramos portraying the dual role of John Lawrence and Philip Hamilton, the son of the titular character played by Miranda. He exited the award-winning musical on November 2016 and went on to star in movies like In the Heights, Dumb Money, and Twisters. And I believe the reason why he was there on Watch What Happens Live because he was promoting Ironheart, which, no shade, although I am going to watch it, the promotion behind this show, the way that Disney Plus is treating this show, I have a feeling this show is going to be trash. I feel like it's going to be a one and done. This show was filmed damn near 3 years ago. It's now coming out, and I don't feel like Disney even has faith or believes in this show. So that's why they're kind of like just dumping it. And from what I heard, the full season is going to be 2 weeks long, which is it's 6 episodes, but they're releasing the episodes in threes. And I remember somebody brought up and said, but they did that with Andor. But I'm like, Andor was different. Andor was they released 3 episodes for 4 weeks. And the reason why they did that is because all 3 episodes represented a year in the time frame of what was going on in that season. So if I'm releasing it weekly, y'all would kind of fall out, like you wouldn't be able to follow along with the, like I feel like it would take y'all out. So to keep you guys interested, you had to watch all 3 episodes at once, so that way you can kind of follow along with the show. Now I don't know how people, the way that it was intended for Disney Plus to do it versus how people actually watch the episodes at home and binge them. That's different. But as I said before, I love me some Madonna. But as I've said many a times, I'm going to call her out when she do things. Well, this is according to Anthony Ramos. She hasn't come out and said her side of the story, but I would not be surprised if this story is true. And I don't think he would go on TV and make this up. Because it's like, I was a nobody back then, trying to make my way through the Broadway space, being a performer and that sort of thing. And I'm doing my thing. And this show was getting rave reviews. And here she comes, being disrespectful. And this ain't the first time Madonna's been called out for her rudeness and her tardiness. And she loved being late, apparently, because she even be late starting her own damn concerts. So, I love you, Madonna, but I need you to be more Madonna and less Madoo-doo when you doing what you do. So, not so well. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? I remember Robert wrote something earlier in the show. I don't know if he's still in the room, but you could re-add it back into the comments. It was like way up in the comment situation earlier on what he had said about that. But yeah, I want to hear from you all. What do you guys think of this story in regards to what Anthony Ramos was revealing? Oh, before I forget, I almost forgot. I got to tell you about the thing with Sierra. So Sierra was asked about her situation with Rihanna, that they rekindled something, because remember, them two was beefing. And she said that they're mommies now, things have changed. They, they let bygones be bygones. They squashed their beef at the Met Gala, the recent one that we just had. So yeah, they let bygones. It's like they're older. She's got 3 kids. Sierra's got 4? So it's like they're moms. They're seasoned professional performers. All that stuff that they did back in the day was water under the bridge. And I'm glad that these girls worked it out, but it was just like, that was just nothing that warranted a full topic. I just need to tell y'all that in passing. So I definitely want to hear from y'all in regards to the whole thing about Anthony Ramos and what he had to say about Madonna. So let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below. Ironheart has made no noise, and I heard about it from Shea Coulee's post. Wish JT would have come out in 20. Yeah, this is going to be a mess. Yeah, the whole Shea Coulee thing, when she posted up, they showed, and I think Entertainment Weekly posted a picture of Shea Coulee as her drag, because there is a drag superhero type character that's included in the Ironheart comic. And I think Shea Coulee is playing that character. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with the show. Anthony Ramos is in it. The thing was filmed almost 3 years ago. And I feel like what Ironheart has going on, it doesn't even fit in the confines of what they're trying to do with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So I feel like just because they need something to put on the channel, they're just dumping it. But I kind of wish I would have just stretched it out. But I guess they don't think that they'll be able to hook the audience. So they're going to just let y'all see all 6 episodes within the 2-week period. So if I was, I should not have told y'all about that, the Madoodle name. Shout out to Kevin Abiance, because he's the one that came up. That's what I told her. They used to call her that back in the day, Madoodle. It's like, if I was Madoodle, I would have just stayed at home. I don't know why she would go and expect royal treatment. These theater kids don't care. Exactly. And I love it too. And I already know. So that's what goes, because I have to constantly show y'all, I don't just be bullshitting y'all. Like, am a fan of people, but I'm not a stan where y'all just blindly are able to do whatever the hell you want and not get called out for it. Like, even if I'm the biggest fan of somebody, if you do something that's crazy or disrespectful, you should be called out for it. And to me, pulling out your iPad and having it in your face and it's bright, you got it on the brightest of lights. That's like the one thing I hate about when people come on concerts and I gotta check your tickets or whatever the case is, and they be having it on the lowest freaking. Can you brighten your damn phone? Like, I'm not damaging my eyes to try to see where the hell you gotta go because you don't know where the hell you going, and I'm trying to direct you or help you out or whatever the case is, and then you got it on the lowest light. But then when you watching a concert or whatever the case is or a show, you got it bright when the room is dark. Make that make sense. I heard like a prayer on an 80s radio station this morning. Oh boy. I was hearing Madonna the other day, actually. I forget where I was though. You said she took her 15-year-old son. He wanted to be with her. I think Rocco was wanting his mom with 4 younger kids and constant work. Rocco felt abandoned because he was a teenager. He didn't matter because his siblings was under the age of 10. Well, hopefully they worked all that out. All right, y'all. Okay, so now let's get into this Timbaland story. So we talked about this the other day. Timbaland came under fire because he's got this AI thing that he's doing. He had this AI artist by the name of Tata that he's working with. Well, she's not real. So, she was created in a lab like Lilu from The Fifth Element. But anyway, so yeah, he's got this thing. He's doing AI. This is the future. People was getting mad at him because they felt like he was probably going to be taking a lot of people's music. Because at one point, I remember this, when he was on YouTube, he was doing like a live stream and he was asking people to send him their music and all this other stuff. And people was thinking, oh, we send him his music, our music. This is an opportunity for us to get signed to be artists or whatever the case is. Little did y'all know that y'all was sending that music, that it was like people was thinking that he was going to be feeding this into some algorithm and using that for his selfish endeavors regarding the whole AI situation. So he was recently called out by a producer by the name of K Fresh because Timbaland use his beat without his approval to create an AI-generated remix through Suno. So you use other people's stuff to put through an AI generator to create a remix instead of you as a producer playing like what you did back in the old school days, playing around with the synthesizer, all the different little beat makers that you got to come up with an idea. But I guess because Timbaland's creatively stifled, now you cheating. But here's the thing. I've always said that I have no problem with AI if you have writer's block. If you have an issue where it's like you struggling to come up with some stuff, if there's a way for you to use AI as a tool to help you come up with an idea, but then you're also adding, it's like, okay, I like that whole thing that it came on. Let me switch this out. Let me change this up. Like, that's what I would do if I'm using AI. If I have writer's block and you give me some ideas, and I do this sometimes, like a lot of times when I'm on my website and I'm creating like a headline or whatever the case is for like what can I write to bring people in when it goes to my Twitter and that sort of thing. I am using an AI tool. But when I go and I read it, sometimes the AI tool, I'm like, that don't make no sense. So I go in and I will change some things up and make it more presentable. So it's a starter tool, but what I do is I go in and I add my little finesse, I add my personality to it, so that way y'all know this is coming from me and not just some AI thing that was written. And I think some people will use it as a crutch and some people will be lazy about it, and I'm glad that people are finally caught. I'm like, I think a mosquito bit me and I didn't even realize it, because now it's like my knee is bothering me. But anyway, getting back to the topic. So now, so that's basically what I wanted to say on that, because I'm like, that's crazy for what he did with that. So now let's get into the actual story. So I just want to lay all that out. So now it just seems like all of people's fears is coming true, because it seemed like that's what Timbaland was using it for. So now on Friday, June 20th, K Fresh demanded a public apology from the producer within 24 hours or face legal consequences. The track was shared without credit, consent, or compensation, igniting widespread criticism from artists and industry professionals. Timbaland responded with a statement on social media admitting he failed to verify the origin of the beat before using it in a demo. Well, isn't that what artists are supposed to do? And I really feel like what a lot of these artists are going to be up in here doing, and this is the fear. I feel like a lot of y'all think that y'all could use like the AI thing as a loophole because the laws regarding copyright and all that other stuff have not caught up with this new AI phenomenon. And that's, I think, always the problem, that social media technology moves so fast that the legality behind it all has to catch up with what's happening with technology. So therefore, Timbaland's able to find loopholes and get away with things because he understands the legal loopholes, and he got called out. But then some people was like, he consulted a lawyer because there was a joint statement, not only from him, but I think his a lawyer, which is Tanya Coates Esquire. But anyway, let's read what he wrote, because it's pretty long, but let me just get through it. So he says, recently I shared a post where I used a song that I believe was fully owned by the artist who sent it to me. Out of pure excitement to explore, transform, and collaborate, I ran it through Sono to show how this tech can open creative possibilities. I didn't monetize it, release it, or try to claim ownership. I was genuinely inspired and wanted to demonstrate what's possible. But I now understand that the song's beat was produced by a producer named K Fresh who didn't give consent, and that's on me. Which is basically saying, like, yeah, you need to vet and make sure that the songs are, what the I's dotted, T's across on the paperwork before you start running anything through a Suno, I should say. He said, I'd like to formally apologize to K Fresh. I should have done my due diligence before using it. Regardless of the intent, I recognize that not everyone involved was aware or on board, and I take full responsibility for that oversight. If you know me, you know I've spent years collaborating with artists across all levels. My goal has always been to empower creatives, not to take from them. The narrative that I'm out here stealing music couldn't be further from the truth, but I understand how this moment caused concern. The post has already been taken down, and I'm committed to continuing to learn, listen, and lead with respect for the craft and the community. At Stage Zero, the AI media company I'm building, nothing happens without people. Our focus is on building tools with creators, not at their expense. And then we have a statement from Tanya Coates Esquire, who said, to clarify, while Timbaland's remix did violate Suno's terms of service, it did not violate the law. See, didn't I tell you they was going to try to find legal loopholes? This is an important distinction. A lot of us click accept on platforms every day without fully reading the fine print. In this situation, well, you should know, in your position of being a mogul, a business person, you need to read your fine print. You shouldn't just be clicking on stuff. And that to me is an excuse. And they said, and this situation simply falls into that bucket. However, just because something's legal doesn't mean it's right. Hello. The audio is no longer on Suno's platform, but here's what a lot of people don't realize. Under the current law, even if a company removes the content, they're not required to delete anything the AI may have learned from it. That part of the law hasn't caught up yet, and no court has said otherwise. Well, because you got a lot of dinosaurs that work in legal systems that don't understand tech and all this other stuff. Do y'all forget when we had that whole thing where, you had all these politicians who brought people like was it Elon Musk? Or I think, I would use one that I do remember. Zuckerberg. I was like Fuckerberg because he is a fucker. But Mark Zuckerberg, when they brought him to the forefront, they was interviewing him and trying to go in on him about what's going on. And then they brought the president, the owner, the CEO of TikTok or whatever the case was. And it seemed like to me, it was yeah, a lot of y'all don't understand how tech works. Hence why I always say we need young politicians, because they've grown up in the world of tech and internet and all that other stuff. So they understand it more so than these dinosaurs that's still in the industry or still in politics. So yeah, what they were saying, and I was saying this before I read the article, is that, or read the statements, is yes, the law has not caught up with a lot of what's happening with tech. Hence why they can get away with a lot of the things that they've gotten away with. And then she went on to say, these are the kind of gaps we're trying to help fix. Timbaland and our team are working diligently behind the scenes to make sure creatives are actually part of the conversation when it comes to developing laws around AI in music. We are working as creative advocates, not oppressors. And some people in the comments was saying collab post with the lawyer is crazy. Another person said this response lacks true accountability because it shifts focus to legal loopholes and generalizations about tech terms rather than centering the harm done. It also feels defensive by emphasizing intent and reputation instead of impact and responsibility. And this I agree with. Another person says self-proclaimed king names himself after a boot, yet has no soul. And soul was spelled as in the boot term, S-O-L-E. That was a good analogy. Another person said the apology followed by the attorneys, but actually note is hilarious. Took away all sincerity from the first slide. Well, you know, some people be telling on themselves without them realizing they telling on themselves. Another person said, your lawyer shitting all over any ounce of sincerity in your apology is a terrible look, fam. Another person said, if this isn't a sign to stop, bro. Another person said, work with them, Tim. That's how you make it right. Well, look, there's at least one person that is Team Timbaland, but it seemed like the full assessment is people are just not feeling Timbaland, what you doing? Another person said, Your Honor, my client, please, oopsie daisies. And last but certainly not least, one person I can guarantee Timbaland is a face for something he knows absolutely nothing about. Threw away his legacy for a few bucks, SMH. So yeah, you got a lot of people out here who are basically just like, Timbaland, this was not a good idea on your part to be doing this sort of thing, because it seems like as somebody who is very much a producer and works with a lot of tech in regards of making your beats and all this other stuff, you don't know what the hell you're doing. It just seems like, yeah, maybe you are the face of it and not understanding what the politics entails from what you're doing. And to me, it just seems more like, well, I am as well versed on that stuff rather than you are. But yeah, as I said, just because you are allowed to do something doesn't mean you should be able to do it. So do better. And I'm glad that people have been raising alarms and feel, the type of concern that they feel in regards to the situation. So I want to hear from y'all. What do you guys think of this story regarding what Timbaland recently got caught out here doing? I definitely want to hear from y'all. Do you agree with him, or do you feel like, boy, you're an idiot? So whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. I follow a music lawyer. She's suing the music industry and Sonos and a few other companies as it's ripping independent artists and little people. Yeah, that's another thing too, is that, and I think with this producer, I don't know who he is. I've never heard not one beat he's made. And that's, to me, what it seems like. It's like, and this has been something that's been going a long time in the industry, where you have adults, or you have big people in powerful positions like a Timbaland, who will take from a lesser known, an independent artist, somebody who doesn't have the amount of money, the wherewithal, or the power to fight a Timbaland type. But the weapon that you do have that works in your favor is social media. Because you could tag somebody in something that puts all of us on high alert, and then we come and talk about it. So I feel like that helps in a lot of ways. That social media, you could use that as a tool to be something that, well, it's Timbaland, if you don't apologize for using my song that I didn't give you permission for, I'm putting you on blast. I'm getting my lawyers on you, and we about to go to court, and I'm going to get paid. That's how you do it, instead of cowling in a corner. So I do agree with this whole thing. But yeah, there's always been these Goliaths that want to take on the little Davids and take advantage of them. The music reviewer who introduced me to Janet and Madonna, Anthony Furtado, made a video about the AI artist. Timbaland is worse than I thought. Oh, I need to see that video. They say he basically just agreed with my POV on the matter that it's not real art, it's a machine and a discredit to exactly, because I don't want to sit up in here, and I understand like that's stuff we see in like science fiction movies or whatever, but I don't want to sit and go to a concert and look at a hologram, or I like the gimmick when it was gorillas, but it was actual people on stage that was singing those songs and performing it. It's just you would just see like the animation, and it was like a marriage of tech with the real artist, and it was a collaborative situation. But I don't want to see something where it's like you're gonna create something. The person that Tata's based on some ugly ass broad who doesn't have appeal the way that they would of a pop star, and then we just sit over here worshiping some AI deity when we want to see actual performers and actual talent up on the stage. So I don't like this idea of like AI performers. Now, if you want to use AI to help with like production and songwriting and crafting certain things, if you want to use that as a tool to help assist in that situation, I don't mind it. Use it, don't abuse it. But this whole AI pop star label, and I was like, what? Boy, if you don't go sit your dumb ass down. But anyway. All right, y'all. So we have, let me see, we got about 5 more topics left before we are done with today's show. So before we get to those final 5, if you could please do me a solid, if you have not already, hit that like button. If you are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. And also be sure to smash that notification bell so that way you know when we go live with a brand new episode. My damn camera shifted. Oh, Chris Avalon Unfiltered. I'll be putting in timestamps at the end of the show. So for those who are going to watch the playback, you'll be able to just watch the, go to the clip you want to see instead of having to sit through all the banter we do through the live stream. Please and thank you. All right, so now without further ado, child, let's get into this Austin Wolf tea. So yesterday, I told you he was going to plead guilty on Friday. And now it's Friday, and I'm here to swing, pick up my girls and hit the party scene. Except the party scene that Austin Wolf about to be hitting up is the prison. So Austin Wolf pleaded, as we said before, pleaded guilty to some CP charges. And on Friday came and went. He pleaded guilty in a Manhattan federal courtroom to a felony charge of enticing a 15-year-old boy to engage in some hunching things, sexual stuff. Now, shout out to the New York Post because they had this tea, and I was like, oh, they brought it on down because they had the quotes and everything. And I'm going to tell you what he said in the courtroom. So it said, former porn star. Oh, I forgot. We got to watch the algorithms and things. Former adult performer, because I got to be careful with the stuff I say. Austin Wolf sobbed as he claimed to take responsibility for getting a minor to engage in some acts of hunching during a Manhattan federal court hearing on Friday. The adult performer pleaded guilty to one charge, enticing a minor to engage in sexual activity, Title 18 U.S. Code 2422B, to be exact, during his plea hearing in front of Judge Paul Engelmayer. He said, quote, in late 2023 or early 2024, I induced a 15-year-old to engage in a sex act. I don't remember through text or social media, but phones were definitely used. I know what I was doing was wrong. This is what Smith, who's 44, told the courtroom while beginning to sob. He says, I apologize. I knew it was wrong when I did it. I don't blame anyone else for my conduct, although it was another person engaging in the conduct. I take full 100% responsibility for my actions, and I'm prepared for the consequences. Now, it's not exactly known who the other person was, but they did say this. There was that father of the 7-year-old boy, but his apology appears to be in reference to the 15-year-old. Yeah, because I think there was something where the father there was this boy who was 7 years old. There was some exchanges between him and Austin to do some nasty stuff, illegal stuff to that 7-year-old. But he's talking specifically about the 15-year-old, unless what's happening is for him to get a lesser sentence, which he will be sentenced in September. He snitched on who that person was with that 7-year-old in exchange for a lesser sentence. But we'll see how many, years he's in, sentenced when that time comes for his sentencing. So yeah, they said, but it's reasonable to assume that Wolf aided the DOJ in identifying this person and he'll be arrested soon if he hasn't been already. Now, ADA Getzelberger detailed Smith's crimes, including interstate commerce, enticing a minor to engage in activity in the facility of another individual, and a baloney wash with an individual younger than 17 years old. Lesser rhymes with pornography charges will be dropped at Smith's sentencing, although feds had busted him a year ago for allegedly exchanging hundreds of child rhymes with corn videos, including one showing a 10-year-old child being bound and R-worded, prosecutors announced. The feds had raided Smith's Manhattan apartment in April of 2024 and found around 200 videos containing child rhymes with corn on a SD card inside the adult film star's computer room, his criminal complaint said. Now, Smith, who appeared, they said he appeared buff and clean shaven. So for those of y'all who was wondering, how's the body? Look at that body. Look at that body. So for those of y'all who was wondering that do he still got the body, yada, yada? Apparently, according to them in there, they said he still got the body. So that means that while he been behind bars in the prison down in Brooklyn, the same prison that's housing the diddler and Luigi Mangione, he been hitting them weights because he can't hit the steroids. So we got to maintain it. Unless they do give out steroids in prison. I wonder how much steroids cost, because they make pennies and things. I wonder if they do got it, I wonder who's shooting them up. But I doubt he's getting that. But anyway, back to this. We don't need to have a little Roy talk. We'll say that for another day. So yeah, now Smith, who they said appeared buff and clean shaven despite wearing a nervous expression, cried and hugged his attorneys as he was led away by court marshals with a chained waist and handcuffs. One man who did not wish to share his name but identified himself as a former fan of Smith's attended the hearing, saying, "I wish I could get a refund from all the money I spent on his videos," the man told the Post. Smith's intention to plead guilty to a mandatory minimum charge with a significant advisory range under sentencing guidelines was announced in a court filing on Tuesday by his attorney, Thomas H. Andrikowitz. He was initially due to appear in Manhattan federal court on Wednesday, but it was extended until Friday to fully prepare for his guilty plea court filing show. Well, you already know when we did Wednesday's show, we talked about the fact that he was scheduled to plead guilty, and now here we are with all the information. Now, Berger previously described him as a danger to children online, and I totally agree with that. That's why I'm glad he let his ass out. They let him sit his ass in prison for it's almost been a year, to the day. He was arrested last year, which was Manhattan Pride weekend, which is next week. So I think, and as it was stated earlier, that it's he probably is going to be because he's been in jail for a year, that'll be time served already versus how many other years they're planning on adding to his sentencing. So Berger previously described him as a danger to children online, danger to children offline, danger to children everywhere, saying he will face a mandatory 10 years in prison and a maximum punishment of life in prison, Engelmayer said. So if he's getting a mandatory 10 years, that means he's got 9 more to go come July. Now, Smith has been held without bail in Brooklyn's Troubled Metropolitan Detention Center since his arraignment nearly a year ago. This is not the first time, we should point out, that Wolf has made headlines for the wrong reasons. He was caught in 2018 having a mid-flight romp with a flight attendant, which caused that flight attendant his job. By the way, footage emerged of the two having relations inside an aircraft restroom with the Delta staffers still wearing their uniform when they were caught, which is always dumb because it's if you're going to do your dirt, you don't do it in your uniform because you are representing what people don't realize. If you're out in the street and you're in your uniform and you get into it with somebody, if you're in uniform, you are representing that company. If you are on social media doing stuff, be it you're playing, and I've seen this happen. There'll be people on social media, y'all be out here diddling with your ding-a-ling online, and I've seen it where y'all be in y'all freaking uniform. I was trying to remember which one it was. It was like the Amazon uniforms, whatever the case is, delivering packages, but you playing with your package while you're supposed to be delivering them. Be in full uniform in the back of the truck. I've seen it. I've seen there's this one queen with this big old ass that is probably giving y'all barely nothing. Y'all know who he is, a little brown skin queen, a little beige, fluorescent beige. I can't remember her name, but she be all over social media. Been fired for so many damn jobs. Worked at Chipotle, worked at Starbucks, worked at this place, worked at that place. Be in the uniform with her ass out, and then keep getting fired from. I'm like, how this queen get up here with a new job every week, and then you get fired the next week because you're still doing the same damn thing. I think you mentally slow. But this is about Austin Wolf. Let's get back to him. But just like I'm saying, it's y'all cannot be in y'all uniform doing stuff and expect to still have your job the next day. Make it make sense. But they also said his sentence, and I'm confused because on one article I saw that somebody wrote his sentencing is scheduled for September 9th, which is my cousin's birthday. I'm September 2nd. She was born September 9th. And then there was another article that I saw that said September 29th. So I'm just going to say he's going to get sentenced in September. So we got about 3 months before we find out when he's going to be sentenced to know what his actual sentencing is going to entail. And I'll definitely keep you guys abreast of that story as it develops. But I did go online, and I'm going to say this. I was looking for people who, are in the adult cinematography industry, if any of them have spoken out in regards of, this story. Y'all was up in here, we had all y'all come out and be like, not me, girl. I didn't know that all that stuff. I was like, chill about it. First of all, I feel like y'all all a bunch of fucking liars. You all knew what was going on with Austin Wolf, and a lot of y'all looked the other way because Austin Wolf was looked at, and I'm going to use a mainstream celebrity as an example of how big and how powerful Austin Wolf was. People looked at Austin Wolf like he was a Tom Cruise or the Brad Pitt of the porn industry. So if you got somebody who looks like him, just some average white dude in the face, but because he had this godlike physique, and he's tall, and he's white, and he's that standard of attractiveness, that godlike figure that a lot of you homosexuals worship, then this is the stuff that's going to come out with this. So, of course, they're going to look the other way. The industry's making a lot of money off of him. You have a lot of opportunists who work in the porn industry that are like, oh, I'm going to collaborate with him because he's definitely going to help my numbers when I'm doing my OF stuff, my JFF stuff, or if you have stuff on his For My Fans. Or if he's a part of a studio, which he was. He was doing studio stuff, and he was doing, well, I think he was more or less because he had his own website, so he was doing For My Fans. But he was also doing studio work as well. So yeah, when you making a lot of money, and this is what I've been saying about stuff when it comes to Diddy and a lot of people in powerful positions, when you making the machine a lot of money, they're going to look the other way. They're not going to go in and let have on you until the what you're doing can no longer be defended. Then it's like, I can't hide it no more. We can't cover it up. We can't keep sweeping on the rug. You on your own, because now it's gotten to a place where we cannot protect you. We cannot cover you. One prime example. So wait, and I'll give you the example of one of the porn stars that actually came out and spoke and expected the industry to have his back, but instead did not. So I was looking for stuff on Twitter. Couldn't find really anything. But child, somebody went and exposed Ricky Cornish. One person said, I don't particularly care for that queen because she looked like, first of all, she looked like she's 12 years old any damn way, even though she might be damn near 30. But somebody posted, when you see news articles later today written by Ricky Cornish and Pride.com, etc., about Justin Heath Smith, aka Austin Wolf, pleading guilty, remember this photo of them and the fact Cornish has never addressed their friendship before their arrest. And for those who need a little refresher on what picture they talking about, let me pull it up for y'all so y'all can see. So yeah, there was this picture that appeared on the red carpet at the Gay VNs where Austin was tonguing him down. And people was looking at us like, oh, so this what we doing? And also, this is not the first time, Ricky Cornish goes and engages a lot with Austin Wolf, has always been at the forefront of the interviews to have exclusive interviews with him, and has even been invited to, when he goes to Mexico City and has his little harem of models, like, Gold and a bunch of them, where they go and they create content for a weekend under Austin Wolf promoting the whole situation. So yeah, there was that. So I just wanted to show y'all that picture just so y'all can have an idea. So yeah, they was going in on Ricky, who's been real silent about all of this. He was writing articles on it at one point, but yeah. So then I was trying to see if there was any other ones. Somebody had just heard Austin Wolf is in jail. This is a win for the community. Happy Pride. And had a picture of, it looked like Camila Cabello twerking. But yeah, then one person said, yeah, so it's like when you have regular people over here posting, but you don't, then somebody posted this, but I was like, is this true? Somebody said, this is what I continue to emphasize. Austin is a Trump-supporting bigot who has reposted derogatory material towards several minority groups, including Haitians, immigrants in general, and the LGBTQ. He's playing a role, people, waiting on his actual type. So yeah, we know all that, but the porn industry, a lot of you models have been real quiet when it comes to it, except for one. There's this model by the name of Silver Cody. who came out recently and posted something on his social media about encountering Austin Wolf and said that they did a collab together. There was a situation where Austin did, his signature choking the model out until they passed out. And he said that after he passed out, Austin continued to perform on him, or in him, I should say, because Austin is a top on camera. Although somebody told me one time that he did bottom and he gave Shitty Kitty. I could have talked to that friend of mine to find out that tea. My source. I said a friend of mine. I mean, they are a friend, but my source. But anyway, so Silver Cody came out and said that that he got choked out by Austin Wolf. When he came to, the thing was done, he said that he let it rock and let him post it because he thought it was just like some normal thing like they do. He was inexperienced. He went along to get along, whatever the case was. But then he started talking to his friends about it. And his friends was like, no, you were assaulted. Like, you were taken advantage of. You need to do something about that. So his real friends had his back more than the industry, because he said he spoke out to certain models. He spoke out to people in the industry, and they were pretty much being like, don't let it, let it go. Don't let it make it a big deal because, and then come to find out that it was like, you're more or less concerned about y'all wanting to collaborate and it's going to help your career versus the fact that, yes, this boy was taken advantage of. And Austin apparently gets off on taking advantage of the inexperienced, the young, and the naive, because they don't know what the tea is, but you somebody in your damn 40s where you know better. And I truly feel like that little sobbing, all that shit you did in the courtroom is some bullshit. I hope they throw your ass under the jail. You deserve everything your ass is getting. And I'm so glad, I hate having to come on here and being like, I'm so glad I'm right. Because I've always said this about him. This man has always rubbed me the wrong way. I never particularly cared about him, but because he has this certain demeanor, look, and everything about him, and this is what the porn industry pushes, along with, what's the other word? Along with the barely legal twink stuff, which I don't find nothing attractive about fucking twinks. I don't know what y'all fetish is with this whole me trying to stick my dick up with somebody that look like they 2 years old. I don't find nothing attractive about that. And there's always been, and for people to sit here and act naive like, oh, we didn't know, we didn't think he was doing that. Why were we making all these, including me, why was we all up in here making jokes about the fact that Austin Wolf, with the barely legal model types, that he was out here fucking children? That was always the kind of the thing that was behind the scenes that everybody was making jokes about. Little did we realize that this was some stuff he was actually doing. And I think it's because he knew it was making him money, and it was, there was this situation that was going on. But you already know, the people behind the scenes, the camera, the FBI, all that stuff, they be watching. And they had their eyes on him. And he got too big for his britches. He got caught up in the matrix, and his ass got caught. Now you're doing jail time. And do drop the soap. That's all I gotta say on that. So I say all of this to say, what do you guys think of this story in regards to the latest on Austin Wolf? I definitely want to hear from y'all. Y'all already know I've been having my foot on this motherfucker's neck from the beginning. So I will definitely keep you guys abreast of this story as it develops. Because I've been going in and letting have on this whole situation. And I'm gonna keep going while everybody else stays silent. Ain't no shame in my game. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. All right, let me go because there's a lot of comments in here. Oh, you talking about that was the Madonna thing. I thought, oh yeah, I read that. Hold on. I think I went up too far. You said he basically just agreed. Oh yeah, I read that too. Hold on. It's already there when bands are no longer being used for concerts. Some of it works. Girls Allow recorded a live band, but to include Sara singing on her solos. Well, yeah, that was like, you know what? If you can find ways to make it work for whatever it is you're doing, I say use it as a tool. Don't abuse it. So I'm here for that. But like full on AI concerts, I don't like that idea. Yeah, he is a full predator. Basically, the audio was recorded by a band during rehearsals, but they didn't take the band with the road to include Sara's vocals were either part of the group or unreleased vault. Yeah, okay, so not cry harder. Okay. He paid for it. Child, first of all, I told her there's even footage of like an infant being assaulted sexually. So it's some younger than the 7-year-old. But yeah, the 7-year-old story, that was some tea. I spilled a couple of episodes, Austin Wolf topics back. I'm glad that was included in the article as well. Well, first of all, the New York Post article, I was jumping around to different articles and looking to see who was saying what, and I just combined a lot of the information, as far as things. So that wasn't the full New York Post article. That was like things that I have remembered that I actually asserted in there. So they said steroids are cheaper than not with the whey protein, 9 years and okay. But look, that's the minimum. I mean, they said that's the minimum he could do is like 10 years. But who knows if he'll probably get more time. But we'll see. But I guess maybe they feel that by him cooperating and snitching, being an informant for the FBI to take down other people that was involved, including that one I was saying about with the 7-year-old, that this will get him a reduced sentence. Of course, they all knew. The reality is with a lot of these adult cinematographers or these adult performers, a lot of you fake asses, y'all just be honest and own up to the fact that you look the other way because you selling bussy out here for an OnlyFans subscription. You needed to get them bills paid, so you looked the other way and and just went along. I'm sure y'all heard all the rumblings. Y'all heard all the rumors. So if people gonna sit up here and act obtuse, it's like you ain't lying. Who you lying to? Because I see through the BS. Cody said made a post where he said he was SA'd by Austin and that the video was posted. And that was what I was just talking about, right? He said, God-like physique, this body type is a big no for me. That bodybuilder Hercules build is unattractive, especially when I always said and look, I've always said the joke that he gets with these twink types because it makes his dick look bigger. I would used to say that joke. I used to say that all the time. If you ever read my post about Austin Wolf, and I used to write a lot of them even before he was in prison. I used to make a lot of Austin Wolf jokes. It's like Joan Rivers with her Helen Keller jokes. I can't wait to see the downfall. You and me both. Cause him and that little condescending shit where he gets up on like laughing at everything people say. I'm like, child, the shit these people say ain't that damn fun. They didn't even go boo yet and you laughing. Like, why are you laughing? Ricky Cornish was definitely topping Austin and wouldn't surprise me if he a PDF file apologist for his daddy. Okay. No, there was no official sentencing. It's just we gonna find out the sentence. This is just him pleading guilty, saying like, yeah, I'm playing the part that I played in the whole situation. And I said this from the beginning. I'm saying, what's all this stalling? You're not getting away with this situation, so you might as well plead guilty. It's the same thing like with Diddy. Diddy, you guilty. I don't know why you sit up here trying to act like your ass innocent, because you're not. So now she ordered those tears from China. Okay. They come cheap too. He said, or you could have said he ordered them from Shein. I said, I'm sorry, it needs a maximum life because the industry won't hire him. Nobody will. And the funniest thing is, even if he did his 10 years and he get out of jail, if people go back and give this motherfucker a comeback, it's going to be on like Donald Trump. I'll be up in here front row and center dragging his ass all over social media because I don't understand how y'all be willing to give this man a second chance. Nobody, when you touch children, when you abuse kids, when you sexually abusing people, you don't get no pass from that. Hell no. First of all, you don't deserve to live, but that's not my place to conduct that because I'm not judge, jury, or executioner. I feel like the Sphere in Vegas can get away with an artist, but yeah, because of the way that place is set up. So if it's something that, like it's a gimmicky type thing, I can see that. Not the Harvey Weinstein, of course. Toddlers, Justin Smith is an example of the worst of humanity. Okay. And somebody who's always shown in his actions that he don't care about the people he collaborates with because he would do all kinds of stuff and people would complain about it over the years that he would do things to people in the videos, that he would post the videos, that he would be dragged on social media for posting things. And it was like, this is not even consensual, but because they're doing the stuff with them, he felt like I could just post whatever I want, and I don't give a damn about your job and your livelihood. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be mad if the judge banned him from adult cinematography after his release. I don't even know if they'll be allowed to do that, but if he even tried to make a comeback and do that, I don't see how he would how he'd be able to make that happen. Or if he were to do it, would people actually support what he's doing? Child, the reason why I roll my eyes because we got to get into this dumbass story. Let's talk about this freaking bulldagger. So let's talk about JoJo Siwa, fake queer behind, who apparently is feeling the need to blame us for why she said I had to go full on tuna eater. And it's like, ma'am, first of all, nobody put a gun in your head and told you to come out here and put them rainbow colors in your head and try to act like the poor man's equivalent of Melissa Etheridge. Nobody put no gun in your head and told you to do that. But because you want to sit out here and defend your little fake relationship with Chris, whatever the hell his damn name is, you keep being in the spotlight, and I'm tired of you queer conglomerates like the Outs, the Advocates, the Prides, whatever. And I know y'all probably be like, well, look, you talking about it too, but there's a method to my madness. The reason why I'm talking about it because I'm tired of her using our community as the only reason why this bitch feels she can get attention. Because I feel like that's what you're doing. So in an interview with the Daily Mail, she discussed her new relationship with her Celebrity Big Brother co-star. It says his name, but I don't even care enough to even say it. And the world's reaction to her dating a man after coming out as a full-on lesbian. Now, Siwa told another contestant on Celebrity Big Brother UK that she felt queer was a better fitting label than lesbian as her and Hughes grew closer. Looking back, she clarified how she currently identifies. She said, when I came out at 17, I said, I'm pansexual because I don't care about gender. But then I kind of boxed myself in and said, I'm a lesbian. And I think I did it because of the pressure. When the interviewer asked her where the pressure came from, she said, in a weird way, I think it was a little bit from inside the LGBTQ community at times. From people I know, from partners I've had, you just get put in this world where you feel like because you now have said, oh, I'm a lesbian, you have to be a lesbian. And the truth is sexuality is fluid. Well, that part is true. However, I don't understand why she's sitting here trying to say like, "Oh yeah, I felt pressure from the community." First of all, girl, we ain't asked you if you was a carpet muncher. Like you the one that decided to provide us with that information. And everywhere you went, you had to come out here and wave your little freak flag, your little rainbow flag. Now I'm sounding like a self-hating homosexual, but I'm not because I already know I wear my flag high up in the sky, and not just during Pride Month. I wear it 24/7. 365, or as Mary J. Blige would say, 25/8. I was like, damn, I forgot the name. 25/8. So, but with her, I always felt like everything you did regarding going through your queerness, it felt like attention seeking, which is why I think that was the backlash you're receiving from a lot of people. But if you felt pressure, then that comes from, I guess, as you said, people within your inner circle. But then you the one that came out here and said you was the CEO of gay pop and got dragged. Because it's like, girl, gay pop has always existed long before you was even a thought in your mama's vagina. Before your daddy shot that sperm and hit her egg, there was something out here called gay pop. So what are you talking about? You decided to come on and want to be this ambassador for all things LGBT. So you need to lie on that sword and not sit and blame other people because you realized this whole queer thing that you're doing is the only way you get attention. Because from what I heard, she does music. She sings. I didn't know she sang in the words of Mariah Carey. But where the music at? Instead of you trying to, regurgitate Miley's cutting room floor tracks, what are you doing? And then the other, you want to say the dance? When she said that dumb shit. She's supposed to be from Dance Mall. I blame Abby Lee Miller for giving us this girl. So that's your fault, Abby. So yeah, then it was saying some people find her relationship hard to believe due to her over-the-top antics and her most recent attempt to shed the child star label. And that's what I was saying. And that's another thing too. Glad to point that out. Because it always seems like whenever these kids that come out of that Nickelodeon Disney machine, the minute that they get to a place of I'm trying to shed my good girl kid image and trying to slip into adulthood. You remember how like the extremes, you had Christina Aguilera, who was a Miss Genie in the bottle. Then she out here wearing assless chaps, twerking the dirty. So it's always like that extreme. There's no middle ground. There's no easy transition. It's just a hard left. And then when you look at somebody like a JoJo Siwa, that's what it felt like. That's what she was doing. It felt like you were using the queerness to shed the good girl image and all of a sudden show that you're an adult. But being LGBT, coming to terms with your sexual orientation, your gender identity, whatever the case is nothing to be played with. And if you want to sit up in here and do, faggotry cosplay, do that on somebody else's time. So then she released that horrible ass song called Karma. She called herself the CEO of gay pop and said during the interview that the era of her life was all nonsense. She admitted that she faked being naughty for a year and faked that I was screwing people left and right, saying she wanted attention. Well, girl, you ain't had to tell us that. Those of us with common damn sense and a brain, because yours ain't fully developed yet, we could see through your Maybelline niece. We knew you was faking it. You wasn't doing a good damn job. So this is why your ass should have took acting lessons. Because if you did, then you'd be able to be a little more convincing with your queer baiting, or with the acting like you was sexually promiscuous. You could have been a little more convincing with that. But girl, we saw, like I said, we saw it through the Maybelline, we saw it through the BS, and that's why people been there's been a lot of this backlash because you're trying to be something you're not. And people just want you to be yourself. And this is an era in which we live in that is an era of accountability, also an era of just being yourself. People want authenticity. We don't get authenticity from a JoJo Siwa. We get annoying. With that husky ass voice would sound like you smoke 8 cigarettes a day. You sound like Marge Simpson's sister when you talk. So yeah, I'm tired of you dragging us into your tired ass group chat. Take us out of it. We don't want to be a part of it. Everything about this girl that we have learned has always been against my damn will. So yes, I'm dragging y'all all into it with me, because if I'm going down, we all going down. And like I said, the reason why people have a hard time taking you seriously because everything you've done has come across as attention seeking. So no one anointed you as a CEO of gay pop. You use your sexuality to garner headlines. A lot of it is backfired. You still doing it. Now you're trying to do it on the other side. And I guess some people will feel like, oh, see, now you're going to prove that what straight people think is that being gay is a choice. And you was over here talking about, because Mickey Rourke went in on you, talking about, one night with you or whatever, in so many words, that you're going to be straight. Oh, I guarantee you, I'm going to still be a lesbian. Then all of a sudden you get with this male co-star. So what was it that you just saw? Ding, ding, ding. An idea went off in your head. It was like, because we're getting attention and Mickey Rourke is no longer a part of the show, we got to keep up appearances and pretend like we're a couple because it's going to garner us attention online and on social media. Well, online social media, same shit. But it's going to garner us attention. So that's what it feels like. It feels very performative. It feels fake. This girl is fake. And she keep playing with this. I think like now she's officially become full-fledged annoying to a lot of people. And people was eating her up in her comments recently when she posted some photo with her and Chris Hughes, and he picked her up and all this other mess. But girl, I just need her to sashay away, in the words of RuPaul. So I say all this to say, what do you guys think of this story? Oh my God, this pain-ass child. I just need her to just disappear. Can somebody just can we find Thanos and hit her with the snap? Like, can we do that? So let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below. I was like, damn, it's a lot of comments. So you said, I think they could do that. Oh, can they? I was like, oh, it'd be interesting if they could see that, if they could force him to, not that he can no longer make adult films. But who would want to support? And I was gonna say, who would support it? You'd be surprised, right? The same ones that's silent over all the stuff he doing. Also didn't give a damn about the Delta boy. Of course he didn't. Absolutely. Nobody forced her, but she keep forcing her stuff on us. Genuine question. What does bulldagger is an old Southern term for lesbian. That's what a bulldagger is. Old Southern women used to call lesbians bulldaggers back in the day. I always loved that term, so that's why I use it. Another hat goes down. JoJo, take your bows down to Astroworld. Your teeny bopper kid fan base pressure you to come out. They don't even, child, they didn't know what being a lesbian was. Yes, she is a poor man's Melissa Etheridge. I believe she bi, but she corny. It could be. Like, I don't want to dismiss and say like she doesn't have interest in guys. Because at one point I think she did have a boyfriend. Long before people knew like she started coming out as a lesbian or whatever the case is. But at the same time, I do feel like the way you've gone about it. It's like, if you are sexually fluid, be sexually fluid. If you're trying to explore your sexuality and gender and all that other stuff, then you do that. But it just, everything about it feels performative. Another case of celebrity arrested development. Absolutely. Yeah, damn you, Abby Lee Mill. I blame you. Kit Connor is an example of someone who was actually pressured. Exactly, because they outed him. And because he did Heartstopper and stuff, they were really putting stuff on him. So yeah, there have been actual people who've been pressured and forced to come out. She ain't one of them. It was Kit Connor was one, Neil Patrick Harris, by Perez Hilton. Then it was Chad Allen. Remember him from Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman? They had Perez wound up getting I think a picture of him making out with some dude in the pool. Somebody snapped the picture and he had to get ahead of it. So yeah, there's always been people out here who have been forced to come out of the closet. She ain't one of them. Yeah, please, bye. Everything I know about this child has been against my will. If she feels pressure, then she is more than welcome to. While she allowed to be the Q in LGBTQ, she's still in the win. Okay. I didn't care about the Kit Connor situation. That stemmed from people wanting queer characters be played by overly queer folk. Yeah. And it was like, and there was always a situation, it's like, well, we tired of people who aren't LGBT playing our characters, but then when it comes down to straight characters or whatever, or any other character, they won't let gays play straight, even though there's been many gays that have played straights, closeted and in the closet. I mean, closet and uncloseted. So yes, but even then, when he did Romeo and Juliet, wasn't that with Rachel Ziegler? People were bringing up, boy, he kisses on Heartstopper. Kept bringing up the boy he kisses on Heartstopper. Do she need rehab? Is there something that we need to know? I just need her to go away, child. But anyway, all right. So, let's move on, and let's get into some health news. So, there's some great news from the FDA and the future of HIV, which I'm actually surprised that this is going down, especially in this current administration that's rolling back so many damn things that could be helping so many people, especially when it comes to, HIV research. So I want to shout out Magazine for this. So Gilead's Yeztugo, generic name lenacapavir, has been approved after highly successful trials in September, found that it nearly eliminated the spread of the virus, and that'll be HIV, among patients, showing a 96% relative risk reduction versus BHIV, which is background HIV diagnosis rates. The drug is meant to be given as an injection by healthcare workers in clinics every 6 months. It is currently priced at... Who the hell is going to afford that? They said it is currently priced at $14,109 per injection, or $2,352 per month, according to NBC News. It remains unclear whether or not it will be covered by insurance. See, and there lies the problem. See, how is every other country, they have universal health care. They don't have to pay UGOB's amount of money just so they can stay alive. This is the only country that I can think of all the time, because I'm focused on the United States, that focuses on robbing our people blind, and you have to pay to live. Who's going to be able to afford $14,000 for an injection? And who knows if their insurance is going to cover it? And if it does cover it, is it going to be a partial coverage? And if it is a partial coverage, how much do I have to pay out of pocket just so I can live and I don't get HIV? Like, what? Here y'all go. We found I truly believe there is a cure. But I also feel that the pharmaceutical companies have sort of as a gold mine that we need to make money and keep open and do all those other things. So we're going to keep people indebted to having to get these injections for the rest of their life just so we could profit. It's just disgusting the way our pharmaceutical companies treat people. And our government that just sides with it and makes it seem like it's okay. But anyway, so now it says the approval of LEN is a much needed boost for HIV prevention, given the strengths of the science and the simultaneous disruption of HIV programs globally. This is according to Mitchell Warren, executive director of AVAC, said in a statement. But US FDA approved is just one of a series of steps needed to ensure that injectable LEN can help reduce the 1.3 million new HIV infections that occur each year. Now, LEN, as is also said, LEN for PrEP, is poised to reshape the HIV response, but only if today's approval is accompanied by bold, strategic, effective, and equitable rollout that reaches the populations that need access. But when you have an idiot like RFK Jr. running our health departments, y'all really think that we're going to get this? Oh, we got to go and fly to another country. Like I have to go to Spain or whatever the case is, see if I got get some insurance out, some universal health care in some foreign country, and then get the injections out there, whichever country approves of the LEN for PrEP. So they said otherwise the world risks squandering this PrEP opportunity as it has with other PrEP options too often over the past 12 years. Now, lenacapavir's trials, known as Purpose 1 and Purpose 2, examined the frequency at which patients contracted HIV without the use of PrEP. Purpose 1 took place in June and measured the effectiveness of lenacapavir among cisgender women in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, Purpose 2 included cisgender and trans men, trans women, and non-binary individuals who engage in sexual relations with partners assigned male at birth in Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Peru, South Africa, Thailand, and the U.S. to compare effectiveness. 2180 participants used lenacapavir and 1,087 participants used Truvada, another recent preventive drug called from Gilead. There were only 2 reported incidents of HIV in the lenacapavir test group versus 9 in the Truvada group. So it definitely shows that lenacapavir works way better than Truvada does. Now, Ian L. Haddock, founder and executive director of the Normal Anomaly Initiative, participated in Purpose 2 as a trial subject. He said in a statement that he is honored to be part of this journey and even more excited to help our communities navigate what comes next. Saying, quote, being part of Purpose 2 trial was about more than just my own health. It was about opening a door for others like me. In a region where stigma and systemic health inequities too often limit access to care, this injectable PrEP has the potential to transform how people protect themselves and reclaim agency over their sexual health. So I definitely think that this is a great idea. I hope that this is something that passes, but I don't know. When we dealing with this type of administration, everything good is like it's against us. But I definitely think like we need to eliminate and annihilate HIV. And I just think it's disgusting that when I read that price, I'm like, y'all guys be out your ever-loving mind with that. Like, we should be worried about saving lives and extending lives instead of trying to force people to pay ugob's amount of money just so that way they can continue to breathe and live. So I definitely want to hear from y'all in regards to this story. What do you think of this breakthrough drug that can reduce the risk of HIV infections? I'm here for the lenacapavir. I'm surprised I was able to say that word and just rolls off the tongue. But I've always been good with tongue twisters. So let me know what you guys think of this story in the comments down below. Right. I was like, let me go up. You said Gen Z is extremely feared of getting drafted for the war as a 40-plus-year-old gay. You and me both. But we too old. But at the same time, I'm definitely sure like people will protest this war. People are like, y'all can lock my ass up. I ain't going to war, not for this war. And you know what, you Trump supporters, y'all rode hard for this. Y'all go fight this battle. All you Zionists, go fight this battle. All you who believe so wholeheartedly in what Israel's doing, y'all go out there in these streets and fight this battle. Because I sure as hell am not. Wait, let me check and see real. You said, one of my friends said he'll leave his house around 4:15 to 4:30. So that's good. So by the time that rolls around, I will be I'll be done with the show, and then I can head out to the city because I'm supposed to be there with some friends tonight. I know Cleveland is in New York. Where you at, Cleveland? Maybe we can come out and meet up for some drinks later. Because he said he's going to be in New York this whole weekend with his man. And I want to be nosy. I want to see what your man look like. Not that I don't poach people men. But I want to see what you're working with. And then we could kiki and drink and be messy. You know, one of the things I do like is that I love meeting a lot of the people that I encounter on, that watch the show. Like, I've hung out with Sailor Mermaid a couple of times. We went to Fire Island last year. He trying to get me to go to Fire Island this year. I don't know. I'm going to try to see if we're going to make another trip. Because I do have friends that have parties and stuff out there. So I do want to kind of, soak up the events and everything that's going on. I say, yeah, I think that speaks to people not wanting queers to do straight roles, which is part of the reason why people want openly queer folk to play queer characters. Sidebar, speaking of which, did y'all see the Noah's Ark movie yet? I didn't get around to watching it. I'm going to try to watch it. I don't know if I'm going to watch it tonight or I might watch it tomorrow. But I want to see the new Noah's Ark movie. I didn't get around to watching it, but I was pissed because some idiot in my timeline went and posted stuff. I'm not going to post spoilers here because I'm not going to do that. But they sort of posted things about the show. And I'm like, why would you post this? They were like, well, why so-and-so? And I'm like, you couldn't figure it out watching the movie, or you just intentionally was being obtuse and you decided to post this online because you wanted a moment. So let me just go and spoil what's in the film. But I definitely am going to watch the Noah's Ark movie this weekend. And also I got to do a rewatch of RuPaul's Drag Race because I told y'all last night I was so tired from like going to see 28 Years Later. I went to the gym, then I went to work and worked that Fuerza Regida concert. I was so tired by the time I got home. I was like, let me just see if I can put RuPaul. I put it on 1:30 in the morning. Let me tell you, the minute I put that show on, the episode was watching me. I was no longer watching Drag Race, so I got to watch it again. But I did see Orville Peck fine ass. The fact that the queens was sitting there flirting with him so much, like Denali literally looked like she was about to risk it all for Orville Peck. And then you had Alyssa up there. It was like, you got a boyfriend? I was like, immediately. He was like, yes, I have a boyfriend. I was like, look, first of all, somebody as fine as Orville Peck, you think he's going to be around here being single? I highly doubt it. Man, let's get through the comments. So JoJo Siwa has Oh, I was about to say, her iconic bows. Well, that's probably where she got all her money. Because it damn sure ain't for the music. Yeah, $14,000. When I saw that number, you saw I had to hesitate before I told y'all, but the number was. An APAC lawyer said, nobody said that Jewish lives don't matter, but if you feel like your life matters more than Palestinian people, then it's like, no, we're not doing that. Y'all, where you have people out who believe that they are the superior race, that they are superior above other people. When you put your own belief and your own right to live over someone else, I have a problem with that. And that ultimatum shit, sorry, I don't play that. And that's why I said that you go over there and fight that war since you so hell bent on it. I almost participated in this drug study, but I didn't. Oh, this drug study I just talked about. He said I didn't trust what they would be inject. You know what? But that's true too because I've always been a little hesitant. I was like, I don't know if you want to do that because look, when you black, and we dealt with things like the Tuskegee Airmen type situation. And the syphilis and all that. Remember that back in the day, the history of and how they be doing experiments on people of color and the history behind. Nope, I'm not risking my life because I don't know what you're putting in me. So I definitely understand your hesitation and want to be like, I don't know what you injected in my body. It could be rat poisoning for all I know. Also speaks to why it's understandable why some didn't want to come out, but job security trumps niche online backlash. Yeah, that's why I can see that as well. It also speaks to why it's understandable why some didn't want to come out, but you wrote the same thing twice. You wrote it 3 times. How long were they sitting on this? That's a good question. But I guess maybe they wanted to make sure all the I's was dotted and T's was crossed before they came forth with this study. What war, though? Around the time of this election, I went back and watched older presidential debates, and I heard Bush talk about how there was talk on the internet about a draft. But yeah, they've been trying to threaten a draft for the longest. But you talking about what war? You talking about you mean the 4 wars we're currently in? The one with the Ukraine, the one with this one with Iran, the one with the Palestinians. No. There's another one. I can't remember what it was. But yeah, it's like we're in 4 wars right now, Chad. I also believe there's cures for certain illnesses that will never see the light. You mean, like, where's the cure for cancer? Like, that's what I want to know. That will see the light of day because why would Big Pharma eliminate a revenue source? Absolutely. So at the end of the day, they're never going to find a full cure. Or maybe there is a full cure that is not going to put money behind it and fund it because if there's a cure for AIDS, then you won't need Big Pharma anymore. Because all you could do is get one little shot. One shot of adrenaline. So if you get that one shot then it's gone. Why would you want to, they got to keep you coming back. It's like street drugs. Once you're addicted, they need you to come back for more. It's all two sides, two wings of the same bird. It's just the difference is, being a white collar drug dealer is way more sustainable and it's legal versus, unless you abuse it, versus the other side, which is the street pharmacies, where you out here selling crack and heroin mixed with fentanyl on the street. Still plenty of other things folks can get. He said those high-end escorts. Okay. I use Apertude. That's one injection every 2. Oh, I need to find out what that is. He said the price of a new Kia is that much? I didn't even know that. He said, I hope this doesn't mean the homosexuals are going to stop covering it in plastic, though. Well, look, what's stopping them already? People don't be using it. Hence why they do the PrEP and all the other stuff. And the doxypap and all of that. So Trump supporters can step in front. Okay, because they be the that's what I said. If they start, I thought he was going to talk about. Oh, because you see the picture. He said, Cleveland look fine. Don't tell anyone. What I got, the placebo. I know that band. I had a friend who works in medical. There's a cure for everything. But let's just say the circle of life, a person dies, so a new life is born. Yeah, that's what. So, all right, they think this is the Lion King. But anyway, all right, so we got 2 more topics. And then we go wrap this show up. So let's get to this tea about Miss let's move on and let's talk about, because we got to rewind and do that one. Elliot Page is in his producing bag. So now he's about to produce a new documentary based on Peppermint. So y'all know Peppermint from RuPaul's Drag Race? So yeah, so now Peppermint has a documentary that I believe that she said has been 10 years in the making. And so yeah, so Elliot Page is going to be producing it. So shout out to Pink News for this story. So it says Elliot Page and his Page Boy Productions are showing love to the documentary A Deeper Love, the story of Miss Peppermint, by signing on as an executive producer of the Oriel Pierre directed film. So the 80-minute documentary, which has reportedly been in the works for several years, will feature never-before-seen footage of the life of trans drag star Peppermint. First debuting in the 9th season of RuPaul's Drag Race, Peppermint has since become a figurehead for LGBTQ plus activism, particularly campaigning for trans rights. And I believe also what people need to realize is that with Peppermint, she also, I think, does something with Frankie Grande, where they've been like trying to really push for equality and more visibility of LGBT people in television. And I remember Peppermint back when she used to be Peppermint Gummy Bear. That was her drag name before she kind of went straight with Peppermint and was out here doing a lot of songs. She had a song called Serving It Up. She was out here performing and doing other stuff, during the, and there was a thing that a friend of mine used to do too, named Raven Roscoe. It's called Faggot Feud. Peppermint was a part of that too, which is like a play on Family Feud. Child, let me tell you, those were the days when I was like hobnobbing with a lot of those personalities and stuff, because it was like Peppermint was Bianca Del Rio. It was a bunch of the girls. So now it's like, not only has Page and his production company joined the crew as executive producer, Bob the Drag Queen and his First Studios company also have joined up for the documentary. So they said that, the film is also set to dive into the performer's early career and her fight to scrape together a living through late night performances and sex work to fund her transition. Because it's like, even when you working in the drag industry, where you're performing at nightclubs and stuff, they wasn't making the kind of money that, like, say, because of the success of Drag Race and how well you do on these shows, that people will be like, oh, I like that person on that TV show, so therefore I'm going to go out and I'm going to support them when they're performing at some local club or whatever the case is, and you can make oogobs of money. That's not the case when it was back in the day, because, like I said, I knew Peppermint before Drag Race. So when you see like a lot of these performers and those other stuff, Drag Race wasn't around. So a lot of them were performing in a lot of these clubs. They weren't making a lot of money. So you had to be able to do what you had to do, which was they wasn't allowing trans people to have regular 9-to-5s. I mean, in some places they do that now, but back then it was like you either was doing drag performing, you were a sex worker, or you did both. 14th Street was lit in New York back in the day before 9/11. So they said, and that was the meatpacking district, to be specific. So they said, in explaining his decision, Page praised the powerful, urgent, and deeply human journey of Peppermint as an activist, a performer, and a trans woman, saying her artistry, courage, and advocacy have changed the landscape for trans performers and inspired so many of us. He added, this documentary captures the full complexity of her experience in a way that feels both intimate and universal. Page added that he was honored to help bring Peppermint's story to audiences everywhere. The film is set to premiere at the Fram Line 49 in San Francisco on the 26th of June. Well, I also hope that, you know what, we find out when is that going to be released in New York? Is it going to do any of the festivals out here? And if you're producing it, this might be an easier way, especially because you have Bob the Drag Queen behind it, and then you have Elliot Page behind it, that it will definitely get distribution because you have like these two powerful figureheads who are coming together to get this out here. And I definitely want to see this when it airs. Now, speaking to the Hollywood Reporter, Peppermint said that she was thrilled the documentary was ready to roll after nearly a decade of work, saying trans issues are in the zeitgeist, yet our full humanity is so often left out of the conversation. This film aims to offer something different, something more honest and personal. So on working with Paige and Paige Boy in the documentary, Peppermint said it was truly a dream come true. So I definitely feel like that this would be the perfect thing, that we have somebody out here who could humanize trans people and show that, you know what, they're not these monsters and things of that nature that the Trump administration and a lot of the people that's following along with his rhetoric because they want their attention seeking, like the Nancy Maces and things, and you know, those types, that they can give a human side, especially when you're dealing with being not only a trans woman, but a Black trans woman, because we don't see often enough those stories. Like the closest we know that someone who is a Black trans woman that has a lot of success and has crossed over into that mainstream space, well, there's quite a few. There's Laverne Cox, but we haven't got like a real personal with Laverne in the way that I guess we will be getting with Peppermint, but also T.S. Madison, where she uses her platform, like with her fag talk and all those other things, to get her voice heard. So I'm looking forward to seeing this whenever it airs or wherever it ends up. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. What do you guys think of this story, this news regarding we're getting a new documentary from the one and only Peppermint, produced by Elliot Page and Bob the Drag Queen, among others. I don't know if there's any other big names, but those are the two names that was mentioned in the article. So I definitely want to hear from y'all. Let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below. It's you said you was almost a nurse. Wasn't for me, but I'm sure, yeah, I did the medical thing too. I realized that wasn't for me either. And not like taking the test to be a nurse and all other stuff, but I worked in a hospital. And I remember my father worked in a hospital for like almost 40 years before he retired. And I remember having that conversation with him. This is around the time when my mother had her heart attack, and we went to visit her at the hospital, and I was having a conversation because one time when we was trying to leave the building. Once we got her situated, he and I walked through the emergency room, and child, if the smell of death was in there, I was like, I gotta get out of here. And that's why I told him, because I felt like it was a trigger for me when I worked in the hospital. And I was just like, and I was in the hospital. I worked in telecommunications. So I was a telecommunications operator. So I would always page the doctors, having to let them know if there was like a code 44, which meant that a patient was in cardiac arrest, that sort of thing. So see, it always was that my whole sole purpose was being in communications, because I communicate well with people. So I guess that was always my ministry in some more ways than one. So when that whole thing, and I was having a conversation with him, he was like, yeah, some people just realize that it's not necessarily for them. It's not an easy gig to have, because my father worked in the emergency rooms. Like, he was running the whole thing of like making sure y'all insurance and stuff was being cleared in case y'all had to be seen and all this stuff. So that was his gig. And now he don't work in them hospitals no more, thank God, because, you know, he seems a lot happier now that he's retired, which seems like a lot of people are. But anyway, so yeah. But when you said that if they don't want the public to know, hence why the legacy media really talked about Ariana. That's what I said. It's just ridiculous the way this legacy media is. Miss E gasped, and I because I hope Sherry Vaughn is in the documentary. Their parody video of Telephone. I like Sherry Vaughn. I actually met Sherry Vaughn when I had to go down to PEG. Now, for those who don't know who PEG is, that's the company that represents a lot of the Drag Race girls. And I do remember I went down there. I forgot, speaking of which, it was because we were doing a shoot with Peppermint. It's funny how that literally just popped in my head. So, it was because we were doing, I was with a friend of mine, David Laugh. We were doing a shoot with Peppermint down at PEG, which was a company that reps her. And Sherry was there, but Sherry was in boy drag. She wasn't even in her full geesh. Let me tell you, there have been very few people I have seen out of boy drag. One would be Sherry Vaughn. The other is Lady Bunny. I have seen Lady Bunny as a boy. Y'all never seen her like that. And all of a sudden, I'll tell you, one time I was walking down the street. I don't know. I think I was on my way to the garden, actually. All of a sudden, I hear his voice. And this person coming up towards me. And I'm sitting there like, who is this Chester the molester type that's trying to come at me? I did not recognize that it was Lady. But he goes, it's Bun Bun. And I was like, bitch, I didn't even recognize. She said, nobody does. So we had a little Keke. And then she went her way, I went mine. But that's funny. It was just like, she saw me, and I was like, huh? I was gagged. I was shook for a second. But it was like, yeah, but Sherry Vaughn was lovely when I met them. We had a brief conversation and stuff at PEG. This was like back when I lived in California, actually. Which was like, what, 4 years ago? And it said I smell an Emmy nomination. Hopefully, I would love to see her win one. The underworld of trans existence. And so we need to find a way to humanize trans people. And I feel like the only way that's going to happen is we have trans people step up and put it out there. Did they sell sausage by the Shut up. I know, yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I probably did meet Candace King. I just don't remember. Look, I told you I've had many situations where I've had people tell me that, oh yeah, you did meet this person, and I totally forgot that I met them. I left Sherry Vaughn stand back at the beginning of the C19. He said Shirley Q. Lickett. Oh Lord, not Shirley Q. Licker is posted videos about from her prime days, and she posted a video of her in blackface calling herself. There's a queen out here who is a friend of mine, also Sister Face, who don't like Lady Bunny and calls her racist. I was like, I'm not getting involved. I am minding my business. But anyway, all right. So let's get to our final topic. So I guess we can give a huge congratulations to the one and only Jussie Smollett, who is out here about to get engaged, which shocked me because somebody sent me this. I saw it was on Gay Magazine, and a friend of mine also sent it to me. That basically, yeah, Jussie Smollett about to make an honest man out of somebody, I guess himself too. So shout out to him. And I know who this child was until it was explained. So anyway, on Friday, June 20th, the former Empire star revealed that he popped the question to his boyfriend, Jabari Red. He said, I'll be spending my birthday with my fiance. He said, yes, this is what Smollett, who turns 43 on Saturday, June 21st, captured in Instagram carousel. Now, a series of photos showed a frame-by-frame timeline of how the B-Boy Blues director pulled off the proposal. Now, tucked away on a street near a restaurant, Red appeared pleasantly surprised as Smollett got down on one knee, also smiling. The next slide showed more of Red's reaction as he seemed to be yelling with happiness, lifting his hands toward his face. The third photo showed Smollett officially placing a ring on his fiance's finger, and the fourth showed a newly engaged couple hugging. Well, actually, see, now I'm kind of mad at myself because I was like, wait a minute. What I should have did was pull that picture up for y'all so that way you could have seen the pictures that I'm talking about. And I was like, wait a minute, why am I thinking about this now? But this happens when, I told you I was running around like a chicken with his head cut off this morning trying to put this damn show together. And just give me a second. And I will definitely pull that picture up. It was only going to take me a second. It's funny how now, Robert, you be out here multitasking because now you sending me that video of Kyle Kalinske and Cenk Uygur going in. I already got that as a part of my queue because I'll be watching that later. But yeah, I told you it was that he was going to do a debate, but you already know Cenk is stupid. But anyway, hold on, because let me pull that picture up for y'all. So yeah, it's that one. That's the photo. So yeah, this is the full-fledged photo that they're talking about where he's like happy to get engaged, but I'm happy for you, girl. So they said, two pictures that follow were filled with laughter, even a bit of champagne, and the announcement ended with a close-up image of the ring on Red's hand. Screaming with tears of joy, my whole heart loves both of you, at Jussie Smollett. Welcome to the family, at Jabari Red. Smollett's younger sister, Journey Smollett, commented. His other sister, because you know they all got J's in their name. His other sister, Jazz Smollett, added a bunch of black hand emojis and a picture of a face with his tongue sticking out, and it said, I was waiting. Congratulations, you two. I pray blessings cover you as you've covered each other. Now, also they went and said Jussie's famous friends also joined in on wishing him well. My babies, his former Empire co-star Taraji P. Henson commented. In the Lee Daniels-helmed drama, which ran for 5 seasons, as y'all know, Jussie played Jamal Lyons, and but they said that he played the on-screen son of the Golden Globe winner. But I think what you meant, they talking about Taraji, because I was gonna say, what y'all talking about? But yeah, he played Jamal Lyon, the gay son on the show. And they said it was during his time on the series where he claimed, now they're going to go into this, but we got to go there. On July 29, 2019, while on his way home from a Subway sandwich shop at 2 a.m, I added that part in, he was attacked by 2 men late at night. He alleged they yelled racist and homophobic slurs, put a rope around his neck, and doused him with bleach. These are some multitasking bashes. So now prosecutors allege that he staged the attack to get media attention and paid $3,500 to 2 brothers, Abimbola and Ola Osadario, they African, to help pull it off. In November 2024, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned the criminal convictions against him, ruling that his rights were violated when a special prosecutor pursued charges after the Crook County State's attorney previously dropped him. In May, he settled the suit with the city of Chicago, agreeing to pay $50,000 to charity. He has maintained his innocence, and here's how they met. Well, apparently, because I was like, where does this man come from? Like, we ain't hear nothing about this man. Well, apparently, he played his other half in a movie that he made called The Lost Holiday that he directed and starred in, and Vivica Fox was in that movie too. So they met because, like I said, he played his piece in the show, and they basically said his name was Jason Holiday. His now fiance was cast as his partner Damien, who was tragically killed. The film also stars Vivica Fox as Cassandra, Damien's estranged mother, who travels to LA to plan her son's funeral. Saying, quote, it's such a hopeful film. This is what Jussie told people in September 2024. I think that's what I really got from this film for my own life, is that it's so hopeful. It's so well, that is the next day going to be like? Well, what is the next day going to be like? What is tomorrow going to bring me? It could bring something great. It could bring you something not so great, but it's about what you do with it. So basically, he's marrying his co-star in a movie that he directed. So, because I was like, I ain't never heard this child. I ain't never heard of anything he was in. Was he ever in a Tyler Perry production? Because you know Tyler Perry got a tug. But congratulations, Jussie. No shade, just tea. So I saw this to say, what do you guys think of this story in regards to Jussie Smollett announcing his engagement? I definitely want to hear from y'all, so let me know what your thoughts are on this story in the comments down below. All right. Hold on, I was like, where'd I go? Anybody who married... What do you... Nico, what do you mean? What you mean by that? I sent you a crystal ball. Yeah. I saw that, but I already have the debate between them. It's like a 45-minute video or something or another that Kyle posted, because I watch a lot of Kyle Kalinski's show. But I'll check it out when I have time. Maybe tomorrow, because it's Sunday, I'll be able to, watch it. I had hope for Jussie, but please be sure to win somewhere. I mean, look, he out here directing. So that's what he needed to stick with, those type of movies and things. He screamed at Crystal Ball for not seeing things through their eyes. See, and that's the problem too, is that the problem with Jank is he's very condescending. And it's like when you be trying to tell him, like, you are an idiot, you don't know what you're talking about. We see the grift of what you're trying to do. And don't be screaming at me, because one thing you will do, what I will do to you is I'll cuss your ass out. Like, don't play with me like I'm dumb. Because I understand exactly what's going on. But if you're gonna be doing all of that, I say no. Now these are fighting words, and I'm about to knock you out with my mouth, not my hands, because I can't afford to go to jail, but I'll debate you. And he said, he's screaming at Crystal Ball for not seeing things through their eyes. She said, I don't have time to get headaches from stupid people who is solid proof of yes, stupid questions. Okay? And you said, anybody remember when Jussie tried to play through? Didn't Wilson Cruz try to play straight in Supernova? Well, we don't leave Wilson Cruz alone. I like Wilson Cruz. And so I guess he got his foot long app. Y'all are messy. No more singles, Jade. We got 6 tracks. Yeah, because I'm like, you basically are just releasing a whole. See, this is her problem. She releasing the album so damn late. We're in June, and the album don't come out until about 2.5 months. So at this point, it's like, at what point are you just going, like, you releasing half the album already? Unless you plan on giving us 21 tracks, I can understand. But she releasing too many songs. I feel like you need to push up the music, or the album release, I should say. But anyway, y'all. All right, so we're officially at the end of today's show. I want to thank you all for tuning in and sticking around with me on this hot ass Saturday, because it is literally it is 85 degrees, and I gotta go out there in this heat. I'm gonna try to do whatever I can to stay hydrated. But yeah, it's damn near 90 degrees in New York City. I don't know where it is everywhere else, or how hot and all the other mess. But yeah, stay cool, stay safe, stay under the AC, stay under your fans, stay under your central air, whatever it is that you're using. Drink plenty of fluids, and try not to pass out in this hot ass weather. But nevertheless, with all that being said, I want to thank you all for tuning in to this latest episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. If you have not already, for the last time, please hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and also be sure to smash the notification bell so that way you know when we go live with a brand new episode of Chris Avalon Unfiltered. So yeah, I'll be back on, I was thinking about tomorrow, but I think tomorrow I'll probably just spend time just catching up on a lot of stuff. I'll be back with a new episode on Monday. You know, the normal messiness of it all. So yeah. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe, stay warm, stay hydrated, stay messy. And until next time, ciao, darlings.